The Trump DOJ has officially opened a probe into Eric Swalwell, you know, that Democrat from California, over mortgage fraud. Oh, I can't believe it. Eric, no one is above the law, and he's claiming that he's being targeted for political reasons. Could it be that you just claimed a primary residence where it wasn't your primary residence to get favorable mortgage terms, perhaps, like so many others have done? Well, no one's above the law, so Swalwell he's in trouble. He's in trouble. We'll see how this plays out. I do think a lot of these cases are a bit of a stretch, but this is the game. Everybody's been pointing this out. Not everybody, but many on the right have been saying, listen, normally these mortgage fraud cases, they'd probably just say something like, we get it, we're not going to pursue these, they're light. But considering they went after Trump for literally everything and even arrested his lawyers, they're like, okay, letter of the law, it's going to be, and it's going to be to you. So we'll see what happens. Then we've got, of course, the Epstein smear, where Democrats put out an email where they redacted the name of a victim to make it seem like Trump was doing something untoward. And then when Republicans unredacted the email, the victim is Virginia Giuffre, who already said Trump did nothing wrong. So once again, more lies. But interestingly, it appears in these emails, at least for some of these posts, that journalist Michael Wolff was actually colluding with Epstein for favorable coverage and benefits that Epstein could receive from Trump, which is really weird for them to put these emails out, which actually doesn't make Trump look bad at all. In fact, Epstein said that Trump's like one of the worst people he knows. And it's funny, I'm supposed to be upset about that? Listen, I want the Epstein files released for sure. I'm with Massey and Ro Khanna on this one. But it's a weird play from Democrats. Unfortunately, as you know, most of these people are just going to march in lockstep and they're going to act outraged and pretend like they don't know what's going on. And then, of course, we talk about how the world nearly ended. I don't know if you guys were paying attention to the gigantic pink sky that was taking over most of the country in the past couple of days. The G4 coronal mass ejection geomagnetic storm or whatever. I talked with the space weather guy, Ben Davidson, earlier, and he was like, we were close to being sent back to the Stone Age because the Earth magnetosphere is weakening. So we'll talk about that, too, because it's fun. But before we do, my friends, we got some great sponsors for you. Of course, we have PDS Debt. My friends, go to pdsdebt.com/Tim. Debt from credit cards is not an accident. It's a system built to keep Americans down. The banks profit, the creditors win, and families lose. Every call, every fee, every high-interest trap is another reminder the game is rigged. But there's another side of the story. PDS Debt has already helped hundreds of thousands fight back, cutting debt, ending the calls, and putting money back where it belongs, in Americans' pockets, not the banks. Whether you're struggling with credit cards, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS Debt has custom options to help you get out of debt. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs in your pocket. They are A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, 5-star rating on Trustpilot. Why? Because PDS Debt has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. It's your money. It's your future. Don't let the system decide for you. You're 30 seconds away from being debt-free. Get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/Tim. Once again, that is pdsdebt.com/Tim. But wait, there's more. Backyard Butchers. Bro, you guys got to get your steaks. You got to get them now because they're delicious. Thanksgiving is all about family, American tradition, and great food. And there's one thing we all agree on. Big Ag shouldn't sit at the holiday table. That's right. Big Ag, like Big Pharma, has tried to infiltrate the food system with genetically modified food and hormones that affect your family's health and children's future. That's why Backyard Butchers is stepping in early this season to make sure American families can feed their loved ones the way tradition intended. This Thanksgiving, say no to feedlot mystery meat. Ugh. No to Big Ag chemicals and hormones. Buy from Backyard Butchers real ranch-raised beef from real American families who still believe in doing things right. It's beef that's hormone-free, grass-fed, pasture-raised, handled with pride, not genetically modified, because American tradition deserves better than Big Ag meat. And yes, your grandmother would approve. She believed food should have integrity and meat should come from ranchers, not conglomerates. So make Grandma proud this Thanksgiving and kick Big Ag out of the kitchen by getting meat raised right from Backyard Butchers right now. Backyard Butchers is offering up to 30% off plus a free turkey or ham with your purchase. That's 30% off your Thanksgiving turkey or ham, and it's on them. And if you get it now, it's not going to be late because everybody's reserving their turkeys. Have you reserved yours? Order at backyardbutchers.com. Use promo code TIM. And I promise it'll be a feast your family remembers. Backyard Butchers, American tradition, American meat. Shout out. I love me a good ribeye. But don't forget to smash that like button. Share the show with literally everybody you know. Take grandma. Come watch Timcast IRL tonight. Joining us tonight to talk about this and everything else, we've got Scott Horton.
Hey, Tim. How are you, man?
I'm great. I was
Thank
here
you
the
for
past
having me here.
couple of days, but it's good to see you. Who are you?
Congratulations to you on reproducing since the last time I've seen you.
Thank you.
That's great.
You know, it's an important function of life.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I very much enjoy it. What do you do? Who are you?
Oh, well, I'm the editorial director of antiwar.com, and I am the director of the Libertarian Institute. I host the Scott Horton Show. I've done 6,000 interviews since 2003 on almost all libertarian foreign policy stuff. And I have a new project, big deal, called the Scott Horton Academy of Foreign Policy and Freedom. And if you heard of Tom Woods, the great libertarian entrepreneur and scholar, he has the Liberty Classroom. And he built me my own Liberty Classroom. So it's me doing, so far, a 30-hour course on Middle East affairs. And then I have a bunch of other great experts, the great James Bovard, William Bupert, and Ramsey Baroud. And then we're adding more every day. We have, not every day, but often, we have the new one coming out is a professor, a scholar, a Lutheran religious scholar debunking Christian Zionism. And
well, right on.
Doing a whole course on that. So that's all at scotthortonacademy.com. And I hope this is true, Tim. I talked to my guy, but he's a little bit out of touch, but I'm trying to reach him. I was going to have him rig it up. So it's promo code Tim for 10% off if people go to scotthortonacademy.com tonight. And maybe I should have said that at the end after people heard how interesting I am, but you know.
Well, right on. Should be fun. Seamus is still here.
Yeah, I'm still here, even though Tim got better. I am still here. I'm not hosting the show, but I just want to tell you guys, I am ecstatic right now, and I need to thank you all. I've been saying this for the past 5 months, or I'm sorry, 5 weeks, not 5 months. 5 weeks since we began our crowdfunding campaign. A civilization cannot continue to exist if the only people telling its stories are people who hate it. People learn their values through story, and for decades, Hollywood has had a monopoly on entertainment. Radical leftists who want to chip away at your country through their propaganda and have done so have owned entertainment. So we launched our animated show, Twisted Plots, to start pushing back against that. A show which promotes good, solid right-wing values, not through ham-fisted preaching, but good story and good jokes. After 11 years of producing Freedom Tunes, we've decided to start this larger venture. And you guys got us fully funded as of yesterday. We are now about 104% funded. Ooh. And we've got roughly 4 or 5 hours left in the campaign. So if any of you wanted to be part of the movement or you wanted to claim some of the perks before it wraps up, go over to twistedplots.com. But otherwise, I've got nothing but gratitude. Thank you for getting us funded. God bless all of you. I'm going to make you an awesome show.
Right on. Mary's hanging out.
Hi, everyone.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Morgan, and you can usually find me on Pop Culture Crisis here at Timcast. Now, I'm just going to warn you, Phil over here is going to try to sell you on his gingerbread flavored coffee. But I want to be very clear. He's one of the crazy people who celebrates Christmas before Thanksgiving has even happened. The perfect beverage to keep you warm in this autumn season is Mary's Ghost Blend, which is now available at castbrew.com.
Directly under the bus, huh? Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Ian, how you doing,
Hey,
bud?
I'm great. I was thinking, what should I say for my intro? I'm like, dude, just watch these people because you guys are all so fun to watch and interesting. It's awesome. And Scott, you are definitely the man. You didn't shout out your show with Daryl Cooper that you've been doing.
Oh, yeah. See, I got too many things. I do a show with Daryl Cooper now called Provoked.
I've learned a lot. I've put probably 15 hours at least or something like that into it so far. I'm so glad to see you again, man. So let's
Named after my book, Provoked.
Great stuff. Let's go
It's a
deep.
gargantuan book. How long did it take you to write that?
The last time I came here, I was under the impression there was a spine ramp with bull corners down there, and I was going to make you a bet.
Gone.
I know, but it was gone by the time I got here.
Yeah.
I'd seen the video, so I was going to make you a bet. If I could go front side grind to back side grind, around the corner into fakie, then you'd have to put Provoked in the background where people could see it for a year. Then I got here and the spine was gone, and I
You
was
can drop
so
in.
bummed. I am not dropping. 12 feet of vertical? Sorry,
No,
I skate vert, but I
11.
Imagine if that's how Scott Horton
it's only
died.
11.
No, actually, it's 7.
I'll tell you, I
7 feet.
have dropped in on, I think at least like 5 feet of vert. I've dropped in on a big extension on a very big vert ramp, but that's with like a 10-foot transition.
That's too much.
9-foot transition. It's a 9-foot transition with a 7-foot
I'm not
rope.
dropping in on your program.
All right. Let's get to the news. Let's
Hey,
get to
listen,
the news.
I'm not a coward because if Jason Ellis wouldn't do it in full pads, then
It's
it
'cause
is
there's
not
no-
reasonable.
It's because there's nowhere to go.
Well, but hold on. But
Yeah,
Scott,
that's true.
Scott,
It's so thin, and you'd have to roll in backside like immediately down there. Yeah, it's.
do it.
But he'd put the
It was
book-
wider.
He'd put the book behind him for a year, and you can kill the man, but not the idea. So it
gotta
might
write more
end
books.
you, but you'd sell more copies.
All right. Here's the news, ladies and gentlemen. From Fox, Trump DOJ opens mortgage fraud probe into Eric Swalwell as congressman vows to keep fighting back. The DOJ under Trump has opened a probe into Swalwell over alleged mortgage fraud. In response, Swalwell said he was not surprised to be targeted by Trump. Quote, is the most vocal critic of Donald Trump over the last decade and is the only person who still has a surviving lawsuit against him. The only thing I am surprised about is that it took him this long to come after me. Like James Comey, John Bolton, Adam Schiff, and Lisa Cook, Letitia James, and dozens more to come, I refuse to live in fear in what was once the freest country in the world.
What a dork.
Of course, I will not end my lawsuit against him, and I will not stop speaking out against the president and speaking up for Californians. As Mark Twain said, patriotism is supporting your country all the time and your government when it deserves it. Mr. President, do better, be better.
He's such
the
a
probe,
jerk,
which was first reported by NBC, will investigate allegations of millions of dollars in loans and refinancing, which were based on Swalwell declaring that his primary residence was in Washington, D.C. A person familiar with the referral told the news organization. According to the report, director of the Federal Housing Agency, Bill Pulte, sent Attorney General Pam Bondi a letter on Wednesday accusing Swalwell of possibly making false or misleading statements on loan documents. Heavens me! I can't believe Swalwell would do something so untoward.
Well, I just want to point, and this is the first thing that went like, what a dork. Every time I hear a statement from this guy, I feel that way. But I have been the biggest critic of Donald Trump. Come on, bro. Don't try to like put yourself up on that lefty throne to pander to your audience. You've been the biggest critic. And also, why are all of these people investigated for mortgage fraud? Why is this something that they're able to pull charges up against them? The market's gotten so bad that like, and these people have destroyed the economy so horribly that when like Gen Alpha and Zoomer crooked politicians come to office, like they won't even be able to investigate them for mortgage fraud because they're not even able to get one. That's how I feel about the situation. He is in a privileged position to be investigated.
For?
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
they're
the
evidence
for defaulting on their car
Exactly.
payments.
Like,
Guys,
This is the worst Russiagate truther in Congress, or tied with that other guy I hate. Isn't he also from California? The other horrible congressman, the worst Russiagate guys.
listen, just real quick. People may be asking themselves, I don't know who this guy is. Who is he, Tim? He is this guy right here.
The evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from the evidence.
Pause when he's speaking is crazy.
Yeah, he had to make sure he didn't.
They claimed it was a mug sliding across the table.
Oh yeah.
But look at Swalwell.
Grimaces.
Is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from the evidence.
Couldn't hold it. He couldn't even hold it.
Yo,
Listen, he's
ripped
spewing the
ass.
same thing out of both ends.
Everybody farts.
I got such a grudge against
Yes, but not
all the
everybody farts on
Russiagators.
live TV.
I don't care if they broke the law. Find something to persecute them for. Anyone who was involved in Russiagate, all of them. And it begins with, because everybody blames Hillary Clinton because she's the most evil person in the world. But the person who really started it was John Brennan. And that was what came out in the documents, you know, that they finally started leaking out the secret addendum, the classified addendum to the Durham report, and all that proved that it was Brennan, the head of the CIA, who started this in the end of 15. And at least as far as we know for a fact, Hillary's team didn't even get on board till February or March. So it was the CIA and the FBI that started it, and then the Democrats were like, oh, we can help make this worse. Unless she may have had a secret meeting with Brennan that we don't know about or whatever. But as far as we know, Brennan and the CIA were the ones who started it. And that nobody should ever be over that. That's no different than like Waco or lying us into Iraq or shooting Jack Kennedy in the face in Dallas or whatever. That like they all but shot Trump in the face in Dallas with that Russiagate hoax. And it was 100% lie. And it was meant, as they said themselves, it was meant, well, if we can't do a coup, and they didn't say coup, but if we can't overthrow him through the 25th Amendment, at least we can rein him in by continuing to pretend to investigate him for another 2 years. I mean, imagine you get elected the president of the United States, and then the CIA and the FBI just frame you for treason and just completely prevent you from exercising your authority whatsoever. Like
I hear you, but at this point, I'm It's a fairly demoralizing current state of events happening right now in the sphere for a variety of reasons.
I carry these vendettas around, man. I have trouble.
Trump coming out and being like, bring on the H-1Bs, bring in the Chinese national college students. It's just kind of like, oh. Yeah. Well, we're cooked, I guess, because that's the economy is worse off than most people realize. Yep. Gen Z is checking out. The polls are showing this, that they don't care anymore. They feel like even Trump won't do anything for them. And you know what? I don't disagree, because when Trump goes on TV and says there's no talent here, their response is going to be like, okay, see you later. Trump just lost the midterms.
Yeah. We talked about that last night. If kids are unable to buy a house till they're 38 years old, that's the average age of someone getting their first house. 40 is it? Yeah. And BlackRock's buying houses. You're going to see people that are homeless breaking into the houses owned by BlackRock and squatting, or there'll be a communist. That's where people are going socialist, is because of this unfettered corporatism or corporatocracy.
It's inflationary money, man, is at the core of all of this stuff. They debase the currency, and then every other thing is trying to make up for that. Why do we even have the massive immigration problem? We have the massive immigration problem because it's a conspiracy between, of course, the Democrats want all these new voters, but big business wants to try to ameliorate the upward pressure on wages. If you run a big company, you need your lower wage workers to be afraid to ask for a raise, and there's upward pressure on all prices.
But it's also,
and so that's how and then we have all the problems.
It's also the petrodollar.
Immigration, and then we gotta do more police state action against that, and on and on.
With the petrodollar, we're basically telling the rest of the world, use our currency. It's good for something. The U.S. government is guaranteeing that if you have this currency, it can buy things for you. The problem is, if there are no people in this country and the economy shrinks, the petrodollar is worthless and nobody's going to trade for them. Right. So they say, flood the country with any and everybody so that China will find value in our dollars.
And to your point, Scott, today, we were talking about this on PCC today. They made the last penny ever today.
Right.
So they'll no longer be making pennies because it costs 4 cents to make a penny. And that's specifically because of inflation.
Right. Did you know?
Because a penny is now worth a tenth of a penny.
Yeah.
That's why.
Did you guys know this? If you go to a bank with $100 and change it into a bunch of pennies, bring the pennies home and smelt them down, you'll go to prison for 100 years.
Yes,
exactly.
You will.
Yeah.
Yes, you will.
You will go to jail if you do.
But the fact that we have the Federal Reserve that is consistently saying we have to have some kind of inflation, right? And so, as opposed to hard money, which you are, extremely well informed about. This kind of behavior by the government is incentivized. Yeah. And so they're always going to be trying to manipulate interest rates. They're going to try to get people to borrow money. And all this does is drive down the value of everyone's dollars. Right. And that's part of the reason why we have the stock market bubble. Well, now we have an everything bubble, but that's part of the reason why the stock market continuously hits brand new highs all the time, because people that have cash don't want to hold on to cash.
Right. And look, this is what Ian just said too, is that to the youth, they're told their whole life, this is capitalism. So what's the opposite of that? So then they start moving further left, or they move further right toward nationalism, away from free markets and property rights and what really provides 100%. Prosperity. But it's the funny money. It's George Washington on the dollar, because it's the government forcing you to accept it. You can only pay your taxes in
reserve notes,
in their currency. So they force us to use it, and it's disrupting essentially all.
You know what I hope?
At this point.
I hope that the G5 magnetic storm hits soon and just shuts down all technology, and then we can be farmers again.
Bro, I just got my campaign funded, dog. Like, I need to make this show.
There's a lot of good technology.
You need to buy chickens and get some arable land.
If you can either have chickens with their funny little faces.
I was thinking on the way over, it's like our job, well, particularly your job, because you're so famous right now, to keep morale up of the world, because technology is advancing so fast. I think a lot of the problems are going to get solved.
Dude, AI, it's. Have you guys seen Nano Banana?
Well, can we talk about the fact that the picture that you just posted of me on Twitter is not real?
That's real. That's not AI. That's real.
Scott took out
Scott kissed the wall. He got the call.
Everywhere, and he.
I can see.
Oh, wait.
I can see in the replies, people were like, "I knew it. I never trusted this guy."
I should have made it that you answered the phone and then.
Oh yeah.
So for those that don't get the reference, I tweeted an AI video of Scott pulling out an Israeli flag, because that's how crazy it is right now with AI. But Nano Banana 2 apparently got leaked for a few hours.
What was that?
Google's new AI for video and photo, which is so perfect. We're done. We are done.
Oh man.
Like, done is an understatement.
Really?
like people were posting a video of like Trump and Epstein playing in a jazz band, and someone posted a picture of a whiteboard with the beginning of an equation, and it said solve the equation, and it was perfect, indistinguishable from a real photo. We are cooked.
I'm not quite as black pilled on AI, because I think that once the novelty of it wears off, because it is still very new and people are learning how to have prompts make it do interesting things and stuff. I think that once the novelty wears off, there's going to be a lot of people that are creatives that are going to use it as a tool. We made the same remarks in the music industry about, synthesizers are going to kill live music. They're going to stop doing it, and DJs were going to kill live music.
This is totally different. I was watching videos of unarmed black men being shot. That was AI, and I could tell it was AI, but it looked so dang real. And all of the comments were like, I can't believe this is still happening. It got to the point now where people know that videos of black men being killed by police go viral. And so they're making fake ones. And with all the body camera footage that we have, it even says Axion with the date, and the cop pulls the gun out and he's like, don't move. The guy's like, I got nothing. Shoots and kills him. And I was like, holy crap. That's an AI video, and you can barely notice. And it's got tens of thousands of shares, thousands of comments, and tens of thousands of likes. And the comments, I would say the overwhelming majority at the top were just saying things like, I can't believe it, this is wrong. A few people were like, this is AI.
Yeah. They're going to have to make it a very serious crime to knowingly create and distribute false
First Amendment,
videos.
you can't do it.
I mean, look, people fell for your AI of me just now, where you can tell my face looks all weird by the end.
That's real,
of it.
Scott.
But like they still, some people still bought it. And so look, I'm a bit torn. I think I definitely agree with your point about that. You're never going to be able to believe video or audio again, at least very soon here. We're like really at that point. But like as far as the whole thing about them taking over kind of everything and like the full black pill on it, I'm not really there because it seems totally incompetent to me, which maybe that's just what I use it for. But AI is virtually always wrong. I got to argue with it about anything when I'm trying to like actually make some progress. But I'm not, I know a lot of people use it for a lot of different tasks.
Someone took the video of you and changed it to you burning the Israeli flag.
Oh, really?
Wow. Why did you do that, Scott?
The age of information.
I was trying to
Well, that means you're getting deported, right?
Sprinkler in here and it didn't work.
Now you're getting deported because you burned the Israeli flag.
Get out of here.
I was born here.
Let's jump to this next story. We got the Epstein hoax from Politico. The latest Epstein files knock White House on its heels. It's fake. And, let me just say, I feel like everybody's demoralized right now for a variety of reasons. This tired old playbook, guess what? So this story drops in the morning. Democrats publish emails from Epstein implicating Trump, blah, blah, blah. You've got this email right here where it's like, Epstein says, I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. Victim redacted. And I actually got messages from the press asking me, like, what do you think the reaction is going to be on the right now that Trump has been implicated with victims? Well, it turns out the victim mentioned was Virginia. Oh. That's Virginia Giuffre. And why did Democrats redact the name? Because Virginia Giuffre already testified in multiple instances that Donald Trump never did anything.
That's right. Under oath, she said that.
Under oath. And she said, I don't know if he ever did anything wrong. He just didn't do it anywhere near me. I never saw it happen. So if they put out the email and they did not redact the name, everyone would have thrown it in the garbage. But redacting the name makes it seem like, ooh, wow, I wonder who that is. Or what could Trump have done? It was another hoax from the Democrats. And I got to say, I am tired of the lies. They offer nothing politically. But at the same time, I have all I see these Democrats coming out being like, fell for it again award. And I'm like, you guys are so retarded. You don't understand. My choice was Donald Trump's promises and you sociopaths who lie all the time. Yeah. Of course I'm going to go for Trump because he may be lying, but at least he's offering anything. Well, the worst thing for us is that Trump came out recently and said, we don't have talented workers here. We need H-1Bs and 600,000 visas for Chinese students. And I just put my feet up like, this is it. This is what we get from Democrats. Yep. Nothing. And Donald Trump says, we're going to do what Democrats planned on doing in the first place.
I thought he made a big mistake when he said that we have no talent. I feel like he
did clarify, but I agree he shouldn't have said it.
Yeah,
and I disagree with his position on the H-1Bs.
He's got. I said this last night too. He's got this disagreeable personality where if you get emotional and go right at him, we'll just be like, no, you're wrong, exactly opposite. And later he's like, that's not what I meant. He's not saying that what I think he meant is that there is greater talent out in the world than just in America, and some of the best and brightest minds in the world may be in other countries. Not that the people in America have no talent, but the way it came out sounded very demoralizing. It could really make
It's not just that. It's like right now we have the Democrats winning these elections, and the response from the GOP is, but they're blue states. Well, Virginia is not. I mean, it's blue-ish, leans blue, but there's a great opportunity to win. And it was closing in New Jersey. Now, I do think it's interesting. A lot of people are claiming Democrats cheated. Democrats are claiming Trump cheated in 2024. I kid you not. Go look at their subreddits. They're hilarious. But New Jersey saw 500,000 new voters for the first time in decades. For real.
Okay.
If you look at the
pretty high number.
Yeah.
if you look at the voter turnout for every gubernatorial election for going back 10 elections, you'll see that they average it's like 2-point-something million.
Is there a reason they were doing it in an odd year here?
They always do.
Okay.
That's their cycle.
Okay.
And so this year, the winner, who normally gets 1.3, got 1.7, and everybody's arguing, saying Republicans didn't turn out. It's not true. If you look at the voter turnout for Jack Ciattarelli, he actually surpassed the previous winner's total vote tally. Just that Democrats had 500,000 new voters somehow. So call it cheating, call it whatever you want, but it's demoralizing. Then Trump is saying things like this. And in the meantime, what's the big debate right now in the United States? Is it border policy? Is it affordability? Is it air travel crisis, government shutdown? No, it's Tucker Carlson having an interview with the wrong person and Candace Owens talking about the latest conspiracy on Charlie Kirk's assassination.
And Trump trying to demand that the Israeli president pardon the prime minister.
Yeah. I mean, that's worthless waste of time for me. And I wonder why he's not offering up any other advocacy for other nations whose world leaders may need pardons. But I'm sitting here looking at all of this, and I'm just like, none of it says anything to Gen Z, who are upset right now and abandoning MAGA. And we're seeing that in the polls. And then at the highest levels, it's just basically the pro-Israel, what was it the Republican convention that recently happened?
Oh, the Republican Jewish Coalition.
Is that what it's called? Where they're basically just holding up signs saying Tucker's not MAGA because Tucker interviewed Nick Fuentes, which who cares? It was one interview, and now you've got all of this drama, and I'm just sitting there being like, is this what everyone cares about? Yeah. Is this it? Because I got to be honest, I was wondering why food is expensive. Yeah. Or gas. Why people are struggling right now. Inflation is bad. I think the economy is way worse than people realize or want to admit. Yes. And Trump is acting like it's not because he has to. Otherwise,
and because he doesn't know.
I think so. And I think the reality is, a bungalow in this area, $500,000. 3 years ago, it was $250,000. Yeah. 50-year mortgages being offered up. I'm just sitting here being like, okay, maybe it's time we just turn everything off, buy some chickens, get some good arable land, and wait for the G5 magnetostorm to wipe us out.
Or just build cool.
I got to talk about inflationary money more again, because first of all, this is at the core of the frustration that you're talking about these young Gen Z people who they can't get a decent job. They went to college. They're saddled with all the student loan debt from the government jacked up prices and all that. And just simply the cost of bean burritos is through the roof, dude. You can't eat. There's a thing. This is one of the things $5. I think Tucker said this in his monologue last night. And I had read this before about Gen Z kids are buying food on credit. They're ordering a pizza. Buy now, pay later.
That's right.
With interest.
Klarna, it's called.
To just eat. Yeah, and that is completely out of control. And then
when's the last time you went to Five Guys?
I'm actually not a Five Guys guy, but you go anywhere, prices are just
literally
insane,
a couple burgers and a fry from Five Guys is like $45.
Yeah.
What? Insane.
And so look, so people, it's sort of like with Biden being too old for this. You don't have to know anything about anything to just say, Jesus, I can't afford these prices. What is going on here?
No, to your point.
But one more thing about this is, these are the good times. You're frustrated everything is expensive. This is because this is the inflationary bubble. If you're an asset owner, like we were talking about, you're making money now. This is the good time when things are getting less and less affordable for everybody on the lower end, right? The only solution to this inflationary crisis is
All
a
right.
horrible crash
me-
and a
I'm gonna-
recession
I'm gonna-
and the calling in of all those bad loans, massive
Yes.
bankruptcies, massive layoffs, and
got-
total destruction of our economy like we had happen in 08.
I got some
That's
questions for
the
you guys.
solution to the crisis that you're describing now, and that's because of inflationary money and the boom bust cycle.
I got a question for you guys.
Okay.
I'm gonna list you the food that I ordered today, and I want you to guess how much it cost. So I got 4 pizzas, extra large, by the way, pepperoni, bacon cheese fries, 12 wings, garlic bread, and an order of ravioli.
130.
250.
Yeah, definitely at least 100.
I'm saying 250.
250.
A million.
$1
$1 million.
$1 million.
Okay, once again, 4 extra large pizzas,
22 each. That's my guess.
French fries, 12 wings, garlic bread, and an order
Yeah,
of ravioli.
150 maybe.
150, think it's $250.
I got it. I nailed it.
Man, you did. I was like, this
know
guy's
my food.
exaggerating. And I was the one just ranting about high prices.
Is there a
What
fear
do
of
I know?
hyperinflation? Is that literal? Like, could it go like,
course it
like
could.
where a burger's $1 million?
Yes.
Yeah, of course it could.
And that's going to be very ugly. It's not going to be like, oh, burger's $1 million, better withdraw my assets. It's like, that's when people are going to get hurt real bad. That's
When they
it's
burn
gonna be
money
bad.
for
And I'm not advocating
fire.
for that.
This is
right?
what
But
they
I'm
call
saying
the
people are
crack up
gonna
boom.
Go after people.
Yeah, this is what Mises called the crack up boom. When, as Ron Paul has warned, remember Ron Paul? He's
yeah.
on my shirt
Yeah,
under this.
vaguely.
The guy who was right about everything. Now, he doesn't put an exact time on this, but he says what happens is eventually people lose faith in the currency. And by people, because you're saying it is the global reserve currency, petrodollar, everything. When the people lose faith in the currency, that means the world loses faith in it. It means dollars all come floating home from all the vaults where they're sitting around the world. And yes, we are chopping dollars off, zeros off of our dollars like Argentina, burning the stuff for, remember the you've probably seen from Weimar, Germany, where the lady's got a wheelbarrow full
wheelbarrow.
of dollars to go buy some bread.
I'm
Well,
glad
let me-
you,
let
I'm
me-
glad
let me
you brought
tell you-
Weimar up because I've
That's
got a
the
quick point
danger.
I wanna
It
make
truly
about
is the
this.
danger
In the left
of
Weimar.
inflationary money.
You're right. I apologize,
You
Weimar.
always get your W's and V's wrong.
So here's the thing about Weimar, and this
always
is
say
this crazy left-wing argument because I remember under Biden they were saying, well, like I'd rather deal with inflation than get fascism. It's like, you idiot, inflation is how you get fascism.
That's right.
People react to it. You keep letting that happen, people snap. And when it does get to the point where a burger costs $100, $200, $500, and someone can't feed their family, you will not believe how ugly it will get.
And
You will not believe
to your
it.
point, Seamus, like the fact that the young generation now, like older Gen Alpha, young Gen Z, right? Even the people on the right, they're not free market right. They're socialist right.
Yeah.
Then the government needs to step in.
And they get
do
more and more populist, more and more
Exactly. And-
interventionist because of the failures of intervention,
Exactly.
not of freedom.
The future that we're looking at, and we've talked about it a little bit here, it's either socialism or Zoomerwaffen. Right? Like you're talking about nationalists on the right that believe the government has to step in and do these things because they don't have any access to actual property. They don't own anything. So they look to the government, and that's how you end up with some kind of national socialist government.
And let's just say
they have no buy-in to the capitalist system.
Now, let's say we're a couple of cycles away from it getting that bad. But even in the meantime, financial stress means broken marriages.
Yeah.
Yes.
They mean failed businesses. They mean children in foster care. They mean
okay.
society disrupted. And at the Federal Reserve, they keep all these charts. They know when they turn the screw this way or they turn the screw this way that they are destroying people's lives. And they consider, there's a book like the Washington Post version of Jekyll Island. It's called Secrets of the Temple by Greerder. And he talks about how it's like their highest virtue.
But
They will let the people suffer
I gotta
in
explain
order
this.
to do the right thing.
I got to explain this
Yep.
to these weak men out there that in hard times can't keep a marriage together. I went to Stonewall Jackson's house. It's in Winchester. You can go there. And it's a tour. It's fantastic. And in the kitchen, there was a musket above where they cooked in a little fireplace or whatever. And you know what that musket was for?
Did it say if I get divorced, shoot me?
No. You take it off the wall, open the back door, and point it until you see a critter, and you shoot the critter, and you throw it in the stew, and that's dinner. So that's how we used to live.
Yep.
So if you're worried because you can't get your ground beef patties from the supermarket, the reality is it is unfortunate. We shouldn't have to live worse than the generation previous to us, and our economy was mismanaged. But my point simply here is maybe we're going to have to go back to the way things used to be.
But the thing is, that process is going to be ugly. Like if you have a hamster that's been indoors
You're in
all
the
its
suburbs
life,
and you're
and you
shooting your
just
neighbor's
let it
rabbit.
out, into the wild, it's going to be dead in an hour, right?
Oh, bro.
People can't just
Hold on,
return
hold on.
to that.
If the economy collapses, this is not a joke. Deer go extinct.
Yeah.
This is not a joke. This actual estimate is that if the economy were to grind to a direct stop and in major cities there's no food, first, within 3 days you get cannibalism in cities because some people will flee, traffic will be jammed up, there's no fuel, people will be riding bikes until their tires burst. Others staying in the cities will have no water and no food after perishables expire, and they'll start killing and eating each other. Within a few days, it can get to that point. Not because of food, there's canned goods everywhere. They'll get consumed rapidly, but then people will have no water. But in the suburbs, into the rural areas just outside, you are going to have millions of people killing any and every deer they see.
Yes.
Pigeons, squirrels, rabbits, they all get wiped out. Not a joke. All these animals are extinct in these areas.
What's the first cause of this?
Why? If
Of
the
just
economy-
if the collapse of the dollar?
So let's just put it this way. If the G5 storm hit and knocked out the grid,
Okay.
and our economy grinded to a halt,
So you're talking no electricity.
no electricity,
Okay, well, that's
no
a-
food coming in, no transport, no fuel. Let's just say like all modern infrastructure is gone. Within a few days, people are dehydrating. The rivers run sour with human waste and garbage. It gets real bad. And then imagine just in the suburbs, every rabbit is gone. Every pigeon is gone. Every sparrow is gone. Squirrels are gone.
Cats, house pets.
Cats, house pets, all wiped out.
gone.
And deer go extinct.
Tell me more about these solar storms.
You should
The Federal Reserve has a solar storm button at the other end of it.
There's a book called 1 Minute After, and it talks about what an EMP would do and what the breakdown of society that happens if you basically turn off the electricity. I mean, the death toll, not just of wild animals, would be.
I'm very
horrendous.
dubious
Let's
about
do it. Let's
those
do it.
things. The sun could do it, though.
Let me pull the story.
Yeah.
Let me pull it.
Couple
Okay.
age
Okay.
bumps,
All right, guys.
With no electricity.
How about we pull this story up from Fox Weather? Northern lights dazzle across lower 48 during G4 geomagnetic storm, the strongest solar flare of 2025. They're ranked from G1 to G5. Let me play a little bit of this for you guys, if it loads.
Aurora Fest here on Fox Weather at night. This is a picture that we just had sent in to us via the QR code that you see on your screen. Thanks a lot, Tina Peterson. That's Urbandale, Iowa. Goodness, that is something else, isn't it? Wow. You got the pinks, you've got the reds, you got the purples, you got some greens in there too. Here's another one, Anaconda, Montana. I like it. Cameron Bright. Oh yeah, Cameron Bright is the name. That was from Montana. My bad on that. Trenton, Texas. How about that?
Texas.
Yeah, so you can see on some of these pictures, there's like a slight edit here or there. You know, a lot of people will try some of the long exposures. Sometimes it's not perfectly visible with the naked eye. But I think
Central Texas. I was talking with Ben Davidson. He's the space weather guy. His Twitter handle is, let me make sure I get it right, Sunweather. I can't see it right now because this is
Sunweatherman.
At Sunweatherman. And he made an interesting point. He said, there have been 10 instances where we were able to see the aurora in the lower 48 in the past 100 years. 5 of those instances were in the last 2 years. So I don't know how many of you saw the pink sky being posted across the board on X from Central Texas, of all places, where they could see it on the horizon.
Now, you mentioned the weakening of the magnetic field.
So the point is, this was a massive storm so powerful that the northern lights stretched way down to northern Texas. Some people posted photos from Florida of them being able to see this. And what Ben has argued is that the magnetosphere has been weakening. That's our shield against these storms. He actually posted the other night that, this is on the 11th, if the storm did not abate and if it kept it up for about 10 minutes longer, we'd be in the Stone Age. But fortunately, it did recede and weaken.
10 minutes longer and the field would have collapsed, or what?
Well, I mean, maybe he's wrong, whatever. But his point was, he said, if this doesn't end, the world ends tonight. He said that on the 11th. Maybe he's just being sensational, but at least I will stress this. When in your lifetimes do you recall the entire sky turning pink, stretching all the way down to Texas? So maybe he's wrong. It's, oh, wow, look at this. But I'll tell you one thing. Billionaires are building underground bunkers in New Zealand and in Montana. They're building mountain bunkers. They recently announced a few years ago they're renovating Mount Weather. The question is, for what reason are the wealthiest individuals preparing to go underground? Honest
Not
question.
Have to face their God.
Maybe, but they certainly are preparing for something. And Ben Davidson's argument is we could be looking at the big one, a polar shift, which weakens the magnetosphere, and then we get blasted by solar activity, and it fries the grid and sends us back to the Stone Age.
You know, I read a thing that was saying that they thought that we're near a stage for the flipping of the magnetic reversal of the poles and all that. So I could see, yeah, that would be bad timing for the sun to be extremely active during that.
If you live in New York when this happens, someone will eat your body. That's not even a joke. So you will get eaten. You will be food. No one in New York City knows where their water comes from.
I can't remember.
Where does the drinking water in New York City come from? Hold on. Nobody knows.
Springs.
There's water that runs
river.
down, a river that runs down into New York, and it's actually elevated, which supplies them with a decent amount of natural water pressure. But when the water stops flowing because these pumps and these systems shut down, where will you drink water? So what are these people going to do? You are going to have you got 2 million people who live on Manhattan Island fleeing in every direction. Yeah. You are going. The argument that what I told people is, I'm gonna hear rustling and chickens screaming. I'm gonna run out to my chicken coop with my shotgun, and there's gonna be a hipster guy with big bicycle handlebar mustache, and he's gonna have his cuffs folded up, and he's gonna be grabbing one of my chickens, and I'm gonna be like, "Don't move!" And he's gonna be like, "I'm so hungry," and he's gonna try running off with one of my birds because these people are gonna flee the cities desperate. Now the people who stay because they don't know where to go or they got young kids. People are going to be drinking blood. Yeah. It's not an exaggeration.
There was I've said that there's this old televangelist who used to say this. If God doesn't smite America, he owes Sodom and Gomorrah an apology. Like, we are just getting to that point here. I'm sorry.
It's factory farming.
Is there anything?
I don't think it's factory farming.
Is there anything in the Bible about pink skies?
The sodomy. Well, it's actually interesting because I know this is not in the Bible, but in Fatima, there is or in the Revelations of Fatima, there's some discussion about signs in the sky, but that's usually related to the Second World War because there was an aurora. There was like a unusually low aurora in the sky right at the very beginning of the Second World War.
I think we're experiencing what's called the Zanabikov effect. You could pull up a video of it, Tim.
There's like a sign in the sky in Revelation, but it's not described this way.
When a magnet rotates in space, it flips occasionally, and then it continues to rotate, and then it flips again and keeps. It's called the Zanabikov effect. You can pull up a video of it. It's basically because there's no flat lines. There's no straight lines in reality. We're always bending and tilting, and magnets, when they start to fall over, they spin really fast and they twist. We're about to face that.
And that's happened to Earth many times. I tell from the rocks.
Okay, so I asked Rock, how many times in the past 100 years was the aurora visible in Texas? And it said, in the last 100 years, between 1925 and 2025, 6 to 8 times the aurora has been visible in Texas. And then it says, the ongoing solar cycle has increased occurrences 4 to 5 events since 2023. That is, of the 6 to 8, 4 to 5 of them occurred in the last 2 years.
How long is this sun cycle supposed to last before it calms down?
It's peaking It's peaking this year, and the lowest point of the cycle will be 2030, I believe.
Okay.
So it's now going to start going down, meaning this may be big, and then 2035, I think, would be the next big one.
Okay, we got 10 years.
That's what Ben said.
Yeah, let's make it happen. That's why AI.
What do you mean, let's make it happen?
This is what let's make it happen, Seamus. It is what AI is helping us build.
Graphene Faraday cages?
Well, yeah, sure, stuff. First we need our power lines underground. For sure. We
can harden all our circuits against poles
underwater.
Too.
So technically, the issue is that this would be... I'm not going to presume to know what degree of protection you're going to need, but the point is, underground is not protected.
Underwater.
Underwater is arguably not protected because it has to make contact at land at some point. And the issue is that the currents are going to fry every system. So your undersea cables may be working, but they're connected to nothing.
If they're underground and underwater, if we could somehow create layers of fluid on top of an underground power lines, that might be the only way to.
They have to come up, Ian, so we can use them.
Yeah, directly up into that.
That will fry the systems.
Well, I mean, really, we should all have our own power source. ultimately. We should all be
Well,
caring.
it's a matter of the quality of the circuits, right? I mean, the military circuits are made to spec to be resistant against H-bomb EMP pulses. So that may not be the same for all of our electricity infrastructure and all of that.
Yeah,
but,
definitely not.
But it could just be a matter of figuring out, well, if the sunspots are going to launch, if they're going to shoot this much radiation at us, then our circuits need to be made of this quality copper to withstand the pulse or whatever. You know.
So
I don't know.
let's just pause real quick and what's the problem if our grid was wiped out and went back to Stone Age? What's
Water.
What's
Water's
the
number one.
Well, the
no,
violence.
that makes no sense. Let me ask the
Getting
question
water.
again.
What do you? Oh, you're asking Scott.
Ian, you are not listening. Why is it a problem if we lose all our technology?
We don't know how to do anything without it. We're entirely dependent on it.
all the suffering
Our
you already
society.
described.
Our collective
Our
knowledge.
society.
Well, we have very
our
high-tech
collective knowledge.
farming.
Hold on, individuals.
Okay, wait, hold on.
We have very productive
Who is our
farming,
society?
and that would end. That's
As
what you're talking
individuals-
about.
Who is our society?
We are, but as individuals,
Where's-
our
no, wait.
ability to cooperate is
Who is we?
contingent upon this technology. Each of us is individuals. Society is made of people.
Uh-huh.
And our ability to cooperate is heavily contingent upon the technological infrastructure we've built up to enhance the cooperation.
So again, what would the problem be?
We'd be incapable of communicating, trading, producing.
Who is we?
Individual human beings living in the society that you're describing would be incapable of carrying on in the way that we
Now,
have
why
become
is that?
dependent
Why
upon
is that?
carrying on.
Why is that a
We'll
problem?
die.
You will die.
Many people will. I hope not. I'm not dying.
lot
I'm
of
built
people would.
different.
You were just describing what would happen.
Indeed. My point is, the argument, unfortunately, comes to a point where there will be a logical conclusion. It would be a good thing.
Oh no, I agree. It could be if it's God's will.
Do you
Compared
think
to
the
what?
flood was a good thing?
Well, exactly. It was God's will. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And I thought you might be going there.
You
But
see?
yes, yeah,
You see,
yeah.
I was getting you there.
No, I know.
Point is
but
this.
We need to protect our son.
If society got to the point where there was wanton like child sacrifice, mutilation, degeneracy, drug abuse, just sin, gambling, vice, casinos popping up everywhere, borders collapsing, war in the Middle East.
Hey, America resembles that remark.
yeah, exactly.
My point is,
No, I agree.
there may come a point where someone says, maybe it's time to build the boat.
I don't agree.
Well, we have
No, man.
microcosmic examples
I'm not saying
of
it's
this
right
all the
now.
time.
I'm saying there is a point at which people would say it's the flood.
Is there
I've
not
heard-
an element of just escapist fantasy involved in this? Not only what we're talking about, but also Gen Z's pathological obsession with the idea that we're going to face climate collapse within our lifetimes, or at least within Gen Z's lifetime. Like, they fantasize about living in a world where they have to surrender to circumstances that are too overwhelming for them.
Yeah, but those
be
people would starve to
accountable.
death.
I mean, so what? We're all just supposed to start a homestead? Like, that's not
Yes.
that's not a viable plan for most people.
That's too bad for most
Society.
people.
And most people don't make it.
Life was never fair. And only in the last 100 years did people think they could live off the government teat and not have to work. There's that viral video of the 17-year-old, or not 17-year-old, the guy with $17,000 in his bank account. And he's like, why do I have to work? And it's like, bro, you would have not survived 200 years ago.
Modern
Holy
society.
Or
is
he would have
an
been way
anomaly.
cooler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he would have been way
He would have built up his ability to do things.
The thing is, we get more and more productive all the time. And so you need, for example, fewer and fewer farmers to feed bigger and bigger cities full of people. And, you know, there's famous economist back a couple hundred years ago named Malthus who said we're overpopulated. There's too many people to feed.
He was a dirty dog.
And then he was discredited because people realized that, you need more people to produce more, to feed more, and it works. And as long as it's property and freedom and free exchange that allow for society to create the things that we need for each other to prosper. So I think as bad as things are right now, and as bad as you can imagine them getting, there's always ways to move positively forward rather than praying for the asteroid or the H-bomb to come.
I'm going to throw it back to Seamus, who said,
Oh, no.
if God does not smite the United States.
It didn't come
he
from me
owes
originally,
Sodom
but that's
and Gomorrah
hilarious.
An apology.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought up this point that
Yeah.
there is a logical point by which things could get so bad. People would, I know the, giant meteor of death is a meme. It's a joke. Like, we don't really want to get wiped out. There is a point by which people would be like, please send the meteor of death.
Yeah.
Not the meteor. The EMP is a better example because it resets everybody to baseline, and it's basically like the Hunger Games. Good luck, you might win, probably not.
It's funny.
The meteor is you're dead. Goodbye.
Serge and I,
I'm with Musk on this. Everybody gets their own Millennium Falcon, colonize the galaxy.
Sure. Good luck.
Serge and I were talking about this the other day, but you have these different environmental adaptations people develop over time that gave them a better ability to survive. But now with the processed foods, it's actually like bad for you. And it's like, dude, 300 years ago, I would have dominated your village, but now I get rashes from bread. It's like, it just completely inverts and subverts.
I think
what humans have
when
become.
you see morbidly obese people on SNAP benefits, I'm like, that's a really, really bad thing for a functioning society. There's that this viral video of the woman who just won in Seattle, the commie, and she was like, "No, what did she say? No longer will food be only for those who can afford it." And it's like,
When has it ever been that way in the United States in anyone's
but
memory?
think about the math of this. It's deficit economics that we will constantly take from those who produce and give to those who don't. Ultimately results in you run out of money in your bank account. That's communism. It doesn't work. So we are headed to that point whether we want it to or not. Whether it's going to be a giant G5 magnetic storm which wipes out the grid, or productivity just halts because communist governments are rising up and stealing everyone's resources, we are getting to the point where you're going to really wish you were homesteading.
Hey, already they downgraded American debt. We're at $38 trillion. We got so many people in this room. Somebody pull up the chart that shows the federal spending. They spend more now in the budget, more on interest on the debt than for the military, for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. So number one thing.
Biggest. It's the fourth
It's
biggest.
not. They don't. It hasn't beaten Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security yet.
No,
but it has beat the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking. I saw a line graph that
But it's coming.
Maybe
It's
pictured
coming.
wrong. It's very close. But see, this is to me is almost the worst outrage. When where does it show the interest on the debt?
Top left. Oh, the interest.
38 billion. The interest payments, yeah, where's that at?
Right here, U.S. total interest paid is at 5.6 trillion.
Does it say like the yearly interest on the debt?
This is the debt interest on debt net is 968 billion.
Yeah, so that's
this year.
equivalent to the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Right. So think about it like this.
That's insane.
And this is just to me.
Bro,
an
our
absolute
debt
outrage.
to GDP ratio is 121.
Yep.
So think of all the payroll taxes that you pay and that you have paid your whole life, everything that you put into this. Like, not only did that money not go to help some little old lady in the hospital or even go to kill a Palestinian, it just went to pay the interest on the debt to the Central Bank of South Korea.
Whoa. You like, wait, hold on. My tax dollars are paying off debt instead of killing Palestinian kids? This is an outrage.
Exactly. It's going simply to nothing.
But at least it's not helping old ladies, Tim.
This whole conversation, so much of this conversation has been how people are absolutely desperate. Their unaffordability of everything. They can't buy a house. They can't buy food. People are absolutely desperate. They're turning to socialist and hard nationalist politics and all of this stuff. And then their payroll tax, if they have a job at all, is going to nothing. To nothing. I mean, that to me is like the national government just being at war with the American people.
Yeah.
That interest on the debt compares at all with any of the transfer programs or the cost of the American world empire just to pay interest. And who holds those bonds? Foreign central governments, central banks. Use those American securities as gold bricks in there. It is the most unfair system that you could possibly come up with.
It doesn't matter if it's a solar storm or a flood or social disorder. This economic system is about to implode, and nothing will stop it.
Reducing costs could slow it down. It's either going to be
math.
No, I don't believe that's correct.
It's either this explodes, we go to crypto, and there's going to be a totalitarian system that comes in and saves the day, and people become part of this communistic machine, or we reduce costs by reducing fuel by creating hydrogen.
Incorrect.
From petroleum to hydrogen system.
Ian,
that's
one or
not
the other.
fixing it.
Ian,
those are the two things I see.
There's one thing that's wrong with your assessment. There's only 40 million Gen Alpha.
Yeah.
Nothing. No system you can implement is going to change that fact.
Cheaper
That
product.
economics are rooted in the amount of people that can exist to sustain a system. Now, by all means, people say, don't worry, we'll automate those jobs. You can't automate customers. So you don't need to hire a robot to run your Taco Bell if no one's buying tacos.
But you don't need money. Money's a construct. We don't.
Money
need
is
it.
a universal trade medium to exchange labor between peoples.
Right now it is,
If there's no people, there's no economy. So nothing you're proposing will change what is happening.
There's 40 million, Alpha. There are people, and people can have 6 kids.
So if
they
you have
want,
if
but-
you have 80 million people who are mid to high level and older, and they need 80 million entry level workers, but they only get 40 million, what happens?
H-1Bs.
Well, that's not going to supply us with 40 million workers. Democrats clearly tried, but once again, you can't replace middle managers, assistant managers with Honduran farmers or cartel drug traffickers.
Our system's pretty bloated. I don't think we need all the companies that exist.
Okay, agreed. Now let's pause here. And once again, we have a financial system built upon the needs of 330 million people, and we are going to have 300 million in 20 years. It doesn't matter.
The error in your thinking is the system's not built on the needs of the 330. The system's built by the Federal Reservists and the central bankers.
Okay, Ian,
that
you
are
got to stop because
fucking our
you
country
got to
up,
stop
dude.
because you're wrong. Okay, the system that we have, for all of its faults, needs to support the food and water distribution of 336 million people. If at any point water becomes more expensive than the labor a person can produce, the system collapses and people start massacring each other.
Yeah, water's number one.
Water's number one. If the system cannot sustain that water, fortunately, it's very easy and it can. In fact, it can with food too. The problem isn't our access to food and water. It's there are no people anymore. So this means you're not going to go to a 50-year-old man and say, you have to work at McDonald's now. He's going to say no. And then the other problem is there's a franchise that owns 10 Taco Bells, and he's going to say, it's okay. We don't need 18-year-olds anymore. We have Optimus. The problem, your Taco Bell employed by Optimus only gets 1 or 2 customers per day. So then they say there's no point in having Taco Bell, and it shuts down. The economy will implode, no matter what, unless we get 40 million more people.
Yeah, people start having a bunch of kids.
It's
I just went to college.
But no,
I just
but
went to
here's the way
college
the
and interviewed
system-
young
it's,
people.
It's
I mean,
too late.
spend more time with young people.
Okay, it's too late to have the kids.
No, what are you talking about? It's never too late.
It is too late to have the kids, Ian, because Generation Alpha is already at 15 to 16 years old.
Why are you still here? What's the point if there's no hope?
No hope for what?
There's no hope for this system. He's not saying there's no hope for the world.
I said the system is going to collapse. Nothing you can do will stop it.
Why would you still be here then?
What are you talking?
What's
what,
the point if there's no hope, Tim?
Okay, Ian, you are consistently jumping the gun, and you're like in your own mind, off in
You
some
just told
parallel
me there's
reality.
there's no people, right after you said there's 40 million Gen Alpha, so you use some weird hyperbole.
No,
obviously
Gen
people.
Alpha is literally 42 million. That's a statistical
That's
fact.
plenty of people. That's a lot
But
of
you need 80 million per generation to
3 kids.
sustain.
Okay.
Okay, Ian, if you have a child today, how many years until they're 18?
18 years.
Oh my God! So how will having kids today put workers in the workplace today?
We don't,
It
I mean,
won't.
we don't
The
need-
system will collapse.
What workers are you looking to make right
We
now?
need to
What
repeal
workers do
child
you
labor
need?
laws
do
is what we're
not
saying.
have enough 18-year-olds to enter the workforce to provide low-skill labor and to be the customer basis for the existing expansive infrastructure for a fractional reserve banking system that survives off of exponential growth through debt.
I agree
the
with you there.
system will collapse,
This system
period.
probably will end up, if not
Buy
collapsing,
more guns
if not collapse.
and ammunition, because that'll be the new currency.
Train. You also
Bottle
learn
caps.
how to shoot.
Bottle caps. The point is this. The Ponzi scheme that was built in 1913 and in the years following it requires an ever-growing population that is impossible. The extraction of our wealth, Scott knows this, to fund wars overseas requires that you keep adding more people to the system because you're racking up debt and then shoveling more labor in it to produce more tax revenue to mask that you've extracted labor from the system without exchanging anything for it.
Here's a question for
the
Scott
end
about it.
result is we don't have enough people and the system explodes.
Well,
implodes.
is part of that needing more people also to send them to die? Why do they send all these people to die in wars? Is that intentionally to shave
No,
off the
that's for
population?
control.
Well, I
to
mean, the
maintain
overall
the control.
casualties are in the, thousands. I mean, there's 7,000 American GIs died in Iraq and Afghanistan combined.
Okay, that's not.
You can
20
add another
millions.
30,000
Let me put it like
suicides, but statistically compared to the population of the country, that's not going to hurt your overall.
Okay, let me explain it. 10 people are sitting around and they each exchange an apple with each other or a copper coin. And they all do it. Let's simplify to two people. You and I, Ian. I grow wheat. You turn it into bread. You give me bread. I give you more wheat. You take a little bit of the extra bread for yourself. I take the bread to eat it and grow the wheat and give it to you. That's our economy. Eventually, we add multiple layers to this. Now there's a guy who does the milling, and we say, well, hold on. How do we keep track of this? Money. So I say, I'll give you this coin, and you trade it with him so that proves you did the work. He'll trade it with me so it proves I did the work. And then we can simplify the exchange so we can all keep eating. Along comes Scott, the fractional reserve banking system, and he says, let me be in charge of the money. Trust me. Then, instead of doing any work, he just makes another coin and then goes to me and takes my wheat from me. Then you come and say, where's the wheat? I'll say, I sold it. What? To who? How? No one did any labor. He sold it off to China. Now we're all like, we have no wheat, we have no trade anymore. He disrupted our economy.
Where's the revolution against the central banking system?
It's coming with Zoomer, Waffen, and the commies.
Well, can we do it in a less drastic
Look, the
maneuver?
reality is, and look, let me be clear for young people watching this. The communists and the far right, they don't know anything about central banking. It's the libertarians, the Austrian school economists, Ludwig von Mises and Murray Rothbard, the guys at the Mises Institute and Libertarian Institute and related organizations. George Mason University has some good people. They're the ones who understand hard money. And what real capitalism is about. And it's such a lie. And I think it's one of the most dangerous things going on in the country right now is that all young people are told, this is capitalism, it's late stage capitalism, blah, blah. Well, then what's the opposite of that? They think it must be socialism. I guess if this is private property, then I guess we want the government to own everything, which is the most idiotic goddamn thing in the world. But to them, that's the binary choice that they believe they're making.
In any crisis, reason will be the first casualty.
Yeah.
So
read Mises now.
When this system breaks down and the libertarians go to the right and the left and say, guys, we can solve this economic issue in a matter of 5 to 10 years if we do this, the left screams off with his head and the right screams,
Go back to Reddit.
Well, no, the right screams like build our communities and isolate and get away from these guys. So you'll offer the solution. The people on the right are going to be like, we've heard enough from the politicians. We're going to go take care of ourselves. Your system be damned. The left is going to say, chop his head off. Yep. So there's not going to be a reasoned debate. They're going to say, I'm hungry and I don't care. Yep. And what we're seeing right now is the macro consequences of economic failure in New York and Seattle. For example, Ian, what do you think would happen if there are two houses in the middle of nowhere? There's a man and a woman who lives in one house, and they have a bunch of food. And there's a man and a woman with 3 children in the other house with no food. And they're completely isolated by, like, I don't know, an earthquake happens and they can't escape. What do you think happens in that scenario?
If they're near each other, but no one else can
they're
stuck? Well, they'd probably come together first and be like, are you okay? We don't have any food.
I said one house has food.
They could speak the same language.
One house has food and a man and a woman. One house has a man and a woman and 3 kids and no food.
They would probably come together to 7 people and then be like, hey, there's 7 of us. Can we make this work?
Yeah, there's no way to grow food. So the likely scenario is going to be the man goes to their house and puts a bullet in the head of the man and the woman and says, I'm sorry, my children need to eat.
Yeah, if you want to live in the jungle. I mean, I don't
that's
think
how
those 7
it
people
always
want that.
is.
No, it's if you want to live. Because if you got kids.
As we have seen,
if there's an earthquake, you don't go shoot your neighbor. What are you talking about?
Tim's talking about a total systemic collapse, not like an earthquake.
I literally said you're isolated by earthquake from anyone else, and there's 2 houses next to each other.
You
what
still
happens?
Don't go shoot your neighbor.
We're not saying it's
Ian?
a good legal strategy.
No. Ian's making a really great example of the folly of modern man. So isolated from the realities of history and the world.
I know the
he's
demon.
Like, this wouldn't, the demon. No, I'm talking about a millennia of history of this planet and what humans have done when their children starve, and it's not for debate.
And then what, do you eat your wife?
All throughout history.
Do you eat your wife when the food runs out?
Well, welcome to the Donner
Well, but
Party.
Ian, if it's between eating your wife and going after your neighbor,
you, Tim, would you eat your wife if the food ran out?
Ian, men die first. God, Ian, you have no idea what you're talking about, okay? Men die first because of high caloric needs and high muscle mass, and women have lower caloric needs. They're smaller, and they have more fat. So the men die first, and the women eat the men. Don't you know anything? That's literally true.
Okay, if you're
in the
both
Donner
starving to
Party,
death, yeah.
the men all died because they had higher caloric needs, and the women are the ones who ate the body. However, several in the Donner Party refused to cannibalize, and they starved to death themselves and then got eaten. The point is this. In every single example of human history, men will massacre to save their children. There's no question about it.
Remember the other day?
Some will not, and they will be food, and they will be. What's the saying? To all the people who don't buy guns, thank you for collecting food for me after the apocalypse happens.
Exactly.
That's the argument. The point is this. That is the micro. That is history. You can look at any period in history and watch what happens when there is no food. People will kill and steal and take what they have to feed who they have to. And it's not always easy, and sometimes everybody starves. That being said, why do they do it? Because a man will not watch his children starve to death. He won't do it. And he will do whatever he has to do to save them. So what happens in the macro? Right now in New York and Seattle, they're doing politically the same thing. The politician comes to them and says, you don't have what you want. You can't afford a house. You struggle to buy food and you're putting on credit cards. I will steal it from other people to give to you, and they clap and cheer for it. That only works for a short period of time. Already in New York, the middle income people are fleeing the city. Where I think the exodus is already, it's like 40 something thousand people have estimated to have left already. And in the past few years, 600,000 people have left New York City.
Wait,
Mom Donnie is saying, I'm going to tax people to pay for you. And so those people said, later, what happens then? You can only function in a deficit system for so long. If they are extracting the resources from those who work and distributing it among those who don't, eventually no one is producing anything and the system implodes. The same is true for as you describe it. A man can only steal so much food for his children before he has to eat his own family or die.
Remember are we kind of conflating, on one hand, like the question of the coming economic crash that's coming one way or the other versus full communism and Mao Zedong starves everybody to death and we all eat each other, and getting hit by a giant solar flare that knocks out all electricity? Because I'm not sure that we all got to eat each other just after the next crash, because we've had crashes and then we generate another bubble and have another crash.
What I'm saying is,
I just want to
what's
the origin scenario?
So don't
here?
take it too far. My point is, in history, in the micro, the individual level, humans have killed other people to take for their families.
But what I'm saying is
America
is a very wealthy
My point
place,
is, now in New York City, they're not murdering each other. They're voting to take money from the wealthy. It is the same function, just in the macro.
Well, and I agree with you that, like, if they keep going that way, it'll just be a ghost town, and everyone will just move somewhere else where they can, actually earn a living and keep it and all that. So don't get me wrong, things can get bad, but I'm just saying. I mean, basically, even if you think about like the crash of 2008, there's trillions of dollars were destroyed. It was a absolute catastrophe. And yet still, as Robert Higgs, the great economist, instructed me at the time, you look at the United States of America, we got a lot of highways, we got a lot of factories, we got a lot of trucks, we got a lot of warehouses, we've got a lot of guys with strength and skill, and we have universities full of engineers.
Our universities are going out of business.
Not rice. Rice is popping right now.
The communist half of them are, but the enginering schools are closing down? I hadn't heard that.
Yes, because there's no 18-year-olds to go to them. So we've seen a wave of prominent centuries-old universities closing because there's no young people. Again, Gen Alpha is... Ian, you went to a single university.
Yeah, Rice.
Yes, congratulations. Anecdote is the plural of anecdote is not data.
It's young people at a university. I mean, you just said young people aren't going to university.
The plural of anecdote is not data.
But you just said there are no young people going to universities.
It is a figure of speech, Ian. Are you daft?
If you want to use hyperbole, then
it is not hyperbole. It's called a generality. When the young generation is half the size of the previous, universities who require 18-year-old entrants don't have them. They go out of business. If no one is around to buy lunch, your grocery store goes out of business. There used to be a restaurant down the street, out of business. Why? Nobody was shopping there. So when you have 40 million Gen Alpha, the incoming universities in the next 2 years will see a 50% shortfall in admissions. Who's going to pay their tuitions? They're going to start shutting down rapidly.
I think that's reasonable.
And this is an important... I recommend you guys watch Birth Gap documentary on YouTube. It's free. No society has ever recovered from this level of a birth rate.
Bro, not one
time.
I was raised Catholic. I don't need a documentary to tell me that. Like, my whole childhood, my parents are sounding the alarm on this stuff. Like, listen, we're a contraceptive society. People aren't having children. Eventually, that has a fallout. Eventually, you can't run the economy. Eventually, nothing is able to be produced.
Is there one particular cause that you focus on that like seems to be the major cause of the decline in birth rates and all that?
So the interesting thing
I'm just going to blame inflation again.
Watch this documentary. It's actually not a decline in family size proportionate to families. People who have families have the same amount of kids proportionate to each other as they always have throughout all of history.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
But what's happened is there's a massive explosion of childless women.
But I thought but wasn't the average number of children in a family in the 60s significantly higher?
It's the same. Watch the birth gap documentary. It's brilliant. They point out that families relative to each other, the birth rate is the exact same. It's just that in recent history, there's been an explosion of childless women.
Feminism.
Yep.
But listen, and granted, I'll give you this is anecdotal. I can only give you my own experience without having the data. But when you talk to when I talk to my parents, when I talk to my friends' parents, they'll all tell you families with 6 kids were very common at that time, and they're not anymore. My mom came from 6. My dad came from 5. Almost no one I grew up with had that many.
I recommend you look at the data for...
Yeah, I will.
Family size in the 1960s was 3.67. In 2022, the average family size had decreased to 3.13.
And here's the problem with that data, which confused everybody, which is why I recommend watching Birth Gap. That's averaging single women along with families.
Interesting.
Or that's averaging like...
Is it?
Yes.
It is saying average family size.
And so
there.
But that's after they've paired up.
So
that's not including...
I recommend watching the documentary and going through their data, and maybe it's wrong. Maybe this documentary is incorrect, and I'm citing bad data. The point they made is we have seen an explosion of childless women, which has skewed the fertility rate lower than it used to be. But the percentage of people who had 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 kids relative to each other has always stayed the same. So by all means, that could mean theoretically family size is smaller. It means if you have a family of 2, they're going to make up 20% of families. A family of 3 is going to make up 40%. A family of 5 plus is going to make up 6% of families. The problem now is you have an explosion of childless women. There's no recovering from it because it creates an economic death spiral. So I've explained this before. Let me explain it again. If you have for Ian, I'll explain it. You have a town of 100 people and 1 grocery store. That grocery store makes a 3% margin on all of its sales and says things are going great. Everybody lives there, goes to old Ian's grocery store, and they have all of their needs met. One day, there's oil is found. And this company comes in and says, we need to bring in 100 new people to get this oil out of the ground. So they build a bunch of houses, hire 100 people, and now the town has 200 people. Guess what? 200 people, that's too many people for one grocery store, so a second grocery store pops up on the other side of town. There's now 2 grocery stores, both with a 3% margin. 20 years later, the oil is dried up, the company leaves. Now, there's no job for half of the people who are working in the oil industry, so they leave as well. You now have 100 people and 2 grocery stores. The newest grocery store that opened for the oil company doesn't simply go, guess we'll go out of business. They say, we got to take on debt to stay open because we're having hard times. What happens then is, instead of the 100 people going back to the original grocery store, they split their business between the 2 of them. Both of them now drop down below 100%. They're no longer at a 3% above board. They're now in the red and slowly piling on debt and going out of business. 2 years of this, they can't pay back their lenders. They both go out of business. And now the original 100 people no longer have a grocery store.
Or they merge and one buys the other.
But that's typically not what happens in these economies. Typically what happens is they compete with each other, and one will take on debt and say, we're going to weather through this. At the macro level, what we're seeing, you can't easily track why it is your sales are going down in this way. We've got 4 sweet frogs in 20 miles of us right now. How many do you really need? I can drive 20 minutes to go to any one of these places, but they can sustain this amount of people. If half the people leave, the Winchester Sweet Frog and the Martinsburg aren't going to decide they are going out of business. They're going to be like, screw you, you go out of business. I'm not shutting down. I'm going to lower my prices. I'm going to put water in my yogurt. I'm going to do whatever I can to attract people so I don't lose my living. This is what happens. Now, compare that same phenomenon to the birth rates. You need a certain requirement of people to sustain your grocery stores, your railroads, your roads, and you don't have them, so everything starts breaking down. Now, people can't afford to eat. They can't afford houses. Nobody's building houses. Guess what? Can't afford a house, can't have a family, can't have kids. So what happens? You don't have kids. So what happens? The birth rate goes down even further, and it's a death spiral until it resets.
Well, consolidation, I think, is the likely outcome of those scenarios as you get megacorps.
You want to hear a fun story? I don't know if this is true or not, but the rumor was in Detroit, the police were going around setting fire to houses, burning them down because there were so many neighborhoods that had collapsed and been abandoned that they didn't. It was worse to have the rotting and collapsing infrastructure, so they just lit them up and let them burn. I don't know if that's true, but those are the rumors we were hearing.
I know they were definitely bulldozing entire neighborhoods in Detroit.
Well, so there's also Gary, Indiana. There's also Gary's crazy. I went to Gary, and there's like a single house that's normal looking, surrounded by all collapsed abandoned homes. And the rumor we often heard from the people who lived outside of Detroit was a house would burn down in the middle of the night for no reason, and the people thought it was the cops doing it. It was the city intentionally saying, we need to destroy as much of this as we can and let it crumble and collapse.
I think consolidation makes sense in the situations where the grocery stores end up buying up. The richest guy buys all the grocery stores. But then how do you get out of that system once that starts to take over?
I'll put it like this. It is extremely easy to expand a system. It's extremely difficult to retract the system. Yeah. So the other example is Detroit's water, for instance. For those that don't know the story, I've told it a million times. I'll tell it again for you, Ian. As time goes on and more people move to Detroit, it's a boom town with the auto industry. They have to expand the plumbing system and the reclamation to be able to service more water to more people. Eventually, they have 1 million people, so they need a water system that can supply enough homes to 1 million people who live in these homes. Then people start leaving. But the cost of that infrastructure remains fixed because it's built to service 1 million people. It would be kind of like, Ian, if you and 10 of your buddies all decided to rent together a mansion with 10 bedrooms, and everyone said, we'll each put in $1,000 and that'll cover the $10,000 rent. And then a month later, 9 of your buddies leave and it's just you, and now you got to spend 10 grand to pay rent and you can't. So what happens? It starts falling apart, it's getting dirty, and you leave. This is what happened in Detroit. Because people were fleeing the city, the fixed water cost stayed, but the distribution of that cost among the people became more intensive for the individual. So if it was $100 a month for water, but half the population left, it jumped to $200, making it the most expensive water in the country. So in Flint, they said, why are we paying for expensive Detroit water when we have the Flint River? So they switched to the Flint River to lower their costs, but the river was acidic, disgusting, had legionnaires. It started to leach lead pipes and poison a bunch of people. This cannot be stopped. There's no circumstance in which people say, hey, our economy is retracting. It's receding massively. So let's hire people to go and break down the water system to make it cheaper. That's an expensive, that's an additional cost nobody wants to make.
Well, it's a government program you're describing too, not business.
Well, the idea being, even whether it was private or otherwise, if you've got a massive water system that is too expensive, you're gonna. Or how about this? Your transmission busts on your car. You're like, it's more expensive to fix the transmission. I'll just buy a used car. That's exactly the issue. People say it's cheaper to leave than to deal with the problem. It is, and anybody who runs a business knows this. It's really easy to hire somebody. It's really hard to fire somebody.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Like once someone's doing a specific job and they have a function, it is, and that's, I'm sure you'd appreciate as a libertarian, one of the big capitalist myths. Listen, obviously, when you have a big faceless corporation, it is common. It does happen. I'm not pretending it doesn't exist for an employer to abuse their employee because they can't go somewhere else. But the reality is, like, especially with small businesses, you don't want to let people go. Like, A, you know them, you develop friendships with them. But B, people are important. They do important jobs. When someone becomes an essential part of your company infrastructure, it's hard. It is difficult to replace them.
I want to pull up this post, my friends, from Kalshi.com. Yo, check this out. Will Trump be impeached? Now, there was a big spike a moment ago for, this is actually, looks like a day ago. It was at 46% by the end of his term, or by the beginning of 28.
This is in reaction to the H-1B thing?
I think this is just everything in general. Right now, there is a 44% projection on the Kalshi prediction market that Trump will be impeached before January of 2028. 11% says before 27, 8% before 26, and I don't know why there's, June of 26 or January of 26. So it actually jumped up to 54, I believe, at one point.
I don't know. They already swung at him twice and missed with impeachment. It'd be
I know, but I think it's
amazing
just
if they
slow
tried
down.
again.
It'll derail anything the
Exactly.
administration tries to do, and that's good enough for the Democrats.
I think it's going to happen.
It looks like, can you scroll down a little bit to see those numbers? Yeah, how it goes 4, no, just back up, 4, 8, 11. it seems like people are just throwing it out there like they have no idea, and they're like, yeah, just take the 44, the latest date that they have to offer, and we'll say yeah, because maybe we'll make money on it. But I don't see any reason why he would be impeached.
Because he okay, so
Palling around with Al-Qaeda in the Oval Office, maybe?
What was that?
Palling around with Al-Qaeda in the Oval Office?
What a great opportunity to explain to people you have not been paying attention this past week.
Oh, yeah, I've been in Texas doing a graphene documentary.
Indeed. Donald Trump has he has a base. And the people who hate Donald Trump hate him irrationally, and they'll impeach him for any reason. Trump's only hope is that he wins the midterms by promising things to his base. Unfortunately, Trump recently came out and said he's going to do more H-1Bs, and he's going to bring in 600,000 Chinese students on visas.
So this is a reaction to the midterm.
Has basically been like, I'm done. Gen Z, largely in the polls, has basically said, I'm done. And Gen Z is now approaching 28 years old, and by the midterms, they'll be nearing 30. This is a key demo that Trump needs. Isn't that crazy? 30-year-old Gen Z. Trump needs them, and they're saying, Trump, you've betrayed us. So,
old man.
With that, Democrats are like, well, we'll vote against Trump no matter what. Now you've got younger right-leaning individuals saying, I ain't going to vote for Trump. Good luck. Yep. So Trump is now at risk of losing in the midterms. I got to be honest.
Are we cooked, chat?
The Epstein stuff is a huge disappointment, a miserable failure. The failures to stop the Ukraine war, I'm not blaming Trump on all of this. Some things you just can't do. But when he came out and said there's no talent in America, big mistake. He shouldn't have said it. That was a bad way to say it. But to say he's going to bring in the H-1B, Scott Bessent said we're going to temporarily bring them in. That's a lie. And to say he's going to bring in these Chinese workers, you might as well just say your options are the Democrats, Joe Biden, or communism. Pick one. And people are going to be like, I'm not going to vote for it. And this is really sad. You know why? Because before Charlie Kirk was killed, my prediction was the right was on track swimmingly to such a degree that the Democrats would go nuts and there would be mass violence over the summer because of the successes we are seeing from the GOP. J.D. Vance has been doing a bang-up job. Now with this past week, it has been an inversion almost. It's been really bad. Trump's blunders. The Epstein thing is immaterial in my opinion. Disappointment, but largely immaterial. But one of the things...
It's a big promise to the American people that we are going to get to the bottom of this. You're going to find out everyone who was involved in this, and they're going to be held accountable for this. You're talking about abusing children, man.
Give
us the truth, goddammit. What is this?
Trump didn't campaign on it.
Prior to the election.
He didn't campaign on it, but when
his
asked
people
about
did, though, you know.
They didn't campaign on it. When asked about it, they did say yes, because what are they going to say? No.
Right.
But I would say one of the big issues right now is for a lot of young people, we can pull up. I'll pull up one of these videos in a bit where the guy's screaming, the Gen Z guy, about how he can't find a job. His job doesn't pay him enough, and then he says, "But they got money for wars." And when Donald Trump, in 1 week, says H-1Bs, Chinese visas, and then writes a letter saying, "Please pardon Netanyahu," you've got American people saying,
and meets with Giuliani,
and
the Al-Qaeda guy in the Oval Office,
and the American people are saying, when are you going to focus on what we've been asking you to do? So you're basically getting Joe Biden 2.0 or communism. Pick one. That's how a lot of people are feeling.
He always was a Democrat until he ran as pretend Pat Buchanan. I mean, let's get and has he ever even read Pat at antiwar.com/Pat? No.
Pat Buchanan? You got to stuff it in it to work?
I don't 30 years worth of Pat Buchanan's articles at antiwar.com.
Retired before Inauguration Day 2017. That was already gone by the time the campaign was over.
Yeah.
So you've got, I'm curious about this. Right now there's a big debate. Ben Shapiro was on stage with Megyn Kelly, and he was saying, Candace Owen, what she's doing is evil, and you got to speak out against it. And Megyn Kelly was like, don't look at me. And then Megyn Kelly came out later saying, I'm going to defend Candace. She never said Erica Kirk was involved. What had happened was Ben Shapiro said something to the effect of, Candace said that Erica was involved or something.
Oh, not even something like that. He said that. He said that Candace said that Erica Kirk killed him or was in on
it. Yeah, because Candace
declarative statement, and Megyn Kelly's like, what?
Because Candace tweeted Erica knows everything, or Erica knew, or I think she said Erica knew everything. which is an implication, of course, that if you're insinuating Turning Point USA was in on it and Erica knew what was going on, then she was either standing by to let it happen or was a part of that.
She would be an accessory if there was a plot and she knew about it.
I actually saw Candace address this on her show, and she didn't address that tweet, though, so I don't know about that. But she just said that she absolutely never said that, and she had said on her show before, and I did see her say this on her show before, that there are two people in the world that can make her give up her quest on this story, and that is her husband or Erica Kirk. And if Erica Kirk were to even just send her an email and politely request that she back down and be quiet, that she would respect that 100%. That doesn't sound like she's accusing her at all.
3 days afterwards, she says, Netanyahu, 3 days after Charlie was murdered, she says, Netanyahu also spoke about how he called Charlie 2 weeks ago to invite him to Israel. That phone call is lacking context. He should provide the proper context of what and who inspired him to make that call and exactly how Charlie replied to the invite. Everyday Man says, surely his wife knew all this. She'd have been there when he was feeling pressured and upset. She would know exactly what was going on. And Candace said, Erica knows everything.
Yeah, but you see here, they're not discussing his murder at all. They're discussing what the Israel lobby was saying about him, and how they were saying how he was still loyal to them up to his dying day, and how she was busting them, proving that that wasn't true. They're not. There was zero implication in her tweet there that she is saying that Erica knows anything about the murder of her husband. That is absolutely not the discussion they're having there.
Yeah, agree. And then Candace Owens said on her show that TPUSA, it had to have been involved or an inside job.
Well, I don't know about that, but she did not say that about the man's wife for sure. And Shapiro's lying about that. That's straight up a lie. You can't even.
What I can tell in that tweet, what she's trying to communicate is like Erica was intimately familiar with his conversations and his work.
Yeah, that's right. They're talking about his feelings about Israel there, not talking about who took a shot at him. That is just
this is what the right has been concerned with doing for months now. It's just policing their own, canceling their own, throwing each other under the bus.
Because of Israel,
anything that we voted for.
They would go backwards.
Hey, you guys want to let the video play?
Which would be in the fall. They would go backwards. You don't instantly get approved for an event at Turning Point USA. It reeks of an inside job. That is how I feel. And the more that we learn about the story, the little changes that happen, the inexplicable things that we're learning, it becomes clearer and clearer that somehow at some layer, at some stage, Turning Point USA is involved because they're giving us no clarity. Why? Are you?
That's such I see. They're not giving us clarity, therefore they're involved.
I disagree with that. He was absolutely lying on her that she had slandered his
right,
widow
and that's not even
way.
the point. And this is what I just can't stand about all of this is that Ben Shapiro said this. Megyn Kelly gave a non-committal response. Later then came out and said Candace never said Erica was involved. And this is the retardation of the modern conservative movement that I am completely uninterested in being involved in.
Yeah, dude, because eventually that's going to be AI. And then
I don't care about that. Candace Owens is saying a bunch of dumb, retarded shit, and it's stupid. But she's allowed to say whatever she wants. I don't care. Tucker can interview whoever he wants. Candace can say whatever she wants on her show. I don't care. But this is not news. This is not policy. And if this is what the right has to offer going into 2026, count me out. I don't want to be involved in this obsession over true crime drama. Before Charlie Kirk was murdered, we are on track for something. Afterwards, we're divided behind Candace's e-girl true crime drama for female listeners who want to listen to like Murder, She Wrote over Charlie Kirk's murder and imply that Turning Point was somehow involved. Turning Point's doing nothing but fanning the flames. I'm so uninterested in all of this. Donald Trump coming out offering H-1Bs and Chinese visas, the right's bickering over conspiracy drama. We don't know what happened with Charlie Kirk. The TPUSA guys are saying clearly what the FBI is presenting seems to make the most sense. Then you've got this other faction that are like Israel, and they're screaming at the top of their lungs like retards. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't care. I'm done. I don't want to have anything to do with this psychobabble garbage across the board in every facet. You come to me and talk to me about tax policy, border policy, military policy, and I'm going to say, here's what we need to be doing to make sure young people can buy houses and have kids. But instead, all I'm seeing from the right over and over again is like, now there's more drama with Candace. And I'm like, that's what you're interested in, guys? I'm going to go fishing. I don't care about this. And if Donald Trump is going to come out and go on TV and say, we're going to do H-1Bs, and Scott Bessent's going to say we're going to do H-1Bs, I'm like, see you later, buddy. I got a poker game to attend to, and I'm going to make videos about Minecraft or something.
Look, it's always like this. It's tragic, but
it wasn't. It wasn't before Charlie died. It wasn't.
Well, yeah.
The amount of chaos that has erupted following the assassination of Charlie Kirk is just terribly sad.
Well, and it's the
terribly
great
sad.
crack up. You mentioned it. It's the great crack up over Israel, too. What do they hate about Tucker Carlson? They hate that he's not a Nazi. They call him a Nazi all day because he's essentially a center-right, moderate, conservative, and moral and decent guy who's turned against Zionism. And so they just cannot have that because, like, Tim, I know for you, when this Israel stuff broke out 2 years ago and you saw all of these woke communist protesters who were bad on the last 10 things in a row that you hated so much, and they're now against Israel, you're like, well, you don't want those cooties, man. Well, Tucker Carlson is saying to you that, hey, Tim, you don't have to move left to give
I don't
up
care
on Israel
Israel
or whatever.
I don't care about Israel at all.
Well, but
No
look,
one
our
is
country is
interested
implemented.
in-
It's not that it doesn't matter. It's not like it's Myanmar versus Pango here. This is America is implicated in Israel's wars. Americans die in blowback terrorist attacks because of Israel's foreign policies, and we're completely implicated in this entirely. So if you don't care about it,
Okay,
you have to be
Scott,
against
Scott,
it.
I think
because
that we're trying to
because
say, like, we're not interested in the conversation over whether Tucker Carlson is or isn't a Nazi. We would actually like to talk about the substance of the issue. I think that's what we're talking
but that's
about.
the point, is that he's
and
not talking about Nazism. Tucker is talking about the problem of
care.
Israel and their influence in this country.
I don't
which
care
you should.
about
It's a big
Tucker
deal.
Carlson debating Nick Fuentes or discussing
I don't
things
care
with
about
Nick
that
Fuentes. It's meaningless. I don't care if Candace Owens wants to do a true crime show. I don't care. The point I'm making is that this has become the top level of the right. The right's debate right now is not over whether or not our policy is effective or what we are going to be doing moving into a midterm year. The conversation on the right is, can you believe what Candace is saying about Turning Point? And I'm just sitting there being like, I don't care. I don't care that Tucker sat down with Nick. I don't care about what Nick's opinions are. I don't care about Tucker's opinion. They were allowed to have opinions on whatever they wanted, and so is Candace. I am annoyed that this is the drama that everyone's engaged in. I will say it's disappointing that Candace went from talking about news to talking about conspiratorial drama. Sure. And that's whatever. They're allowed to talk about whatever they want, and I'm not going to tell them not to do it. I will just say this. It is the utmost of demoralization when I go on to look up the news, and it's Israel and the Jews, and Turning Point killed Charlie. And I'm sitting here being like, didn't they just say that they were not, like, the airlines are shutting down? Can I talk about that stuff? AI is taking over. What about the H-1Bs and the Chinese visas?
Yeah.
All that stuff's really important. I mean, they're prepping an invasion of Venezuela right now.
That's exactly what Matt Walsh was saying just a couple of weeks ago, and people on the right attacked him for exactly what you're saying right now. You're echoing his point, which is,
Well, I like Matt Walsh.
Let's stop canceling each other, throwing each other under the bus, and cannibalizing our own movement, and actually fight the left. And people then just tried to cancel him over saying that.
Particularly when, like, our biggest problems, the problems that everybody feels are, and I know I'm going to get beat up from the chat for this, but it's kitchen table stuff. It's the fact that groceries are expensive. It's the fact that people can't afford things, and you have got to get that taken care of for the American people, because that's what you're there for. There is a very vocal and dedicated minority that cares very, very deeply about the stuff that we're talking about, but they are a minority. The people that only check into politics once in a while and only check into politics when the grocery bill looks outrageous, those people are the ones that are going to
They're gone.
They're mobile.
And it's the Israel psychobabble as a large reason why Trump is going to lose. And, you know, I'll just put it this way. Israel's going to win everything. They're going to win everything because for one, well, I'll split the baby on this one. The anti-Israel side is annoying, and the pro-Israel side can't make an effective argument to save themselves. But I can tell you this. When I go to the grocery store, ain't nobody sitting outside being like, Israel, Tim. They're going, why was my milk $5? And then I go online, and what do I see? Tucker Carlson was talking to Nick Fuentes. I don't care. I don't care if you are complaining about Israel or you support Israel. The issue at hand needs to be, why is Trump bringing in more H-1Bs? But this isn't the conversation. And so I just look at it like, okay, I'll put it this way. I am frustrated because we need to win. We need to win this. And we're not going to, because the right is dejected. The left is a cult, and that's always been their advantage. And it's unfortunate, but that's going to do well for them moving forward. It doesn't matter what's true, because they'll march in lockstep with each other no matter what. The right is going to start bickering over esoteric, garbled nonsense the average American doesn't care about. And, you know, I think the sad reality is, what we're seeing from this is that Charlie was holding this together more than anyone realized. And it's a combination of, without his leadership, what ends up happening, and the exploitation of his absence, what ends up happening.
Yeah. Charlie was unique in that he could call Tucker, he could call Donald Trump, he could call basically anybody, because he kept his relationships with everybody at a point where he could basically reach out and say, look, hey, let's talk about this. And it shows, it showed in the way that he, engaged with the left.
He set a great example in that way. He really did.
And it's a terrible loss that he's gone. But we need more people to try to embody that kind of attitude, not only towards the left, but specifically now towards people that are also on the right.
I'm going to go full conspiratard as far as I can. I actually have been thinking that watching all of this, I'm like, it can't be that the right is this dumb. I don't know. What I can say is I think the AI is taken over already. And I'm wondering if there's actually even a path forward in regards to what we're dealing with. I'll put it this way. Either the AI is already taken over, or the development they're doing towards AI can't be stopped by the likes of us, in which case, how do you win, and can you? And I don't think that you can.
You have to be nonpartisan. If you're partisan,
it's not about partisan.
This
This is completely immaterial.
This is why they're fighting on the right, because they think they're on the right. They think they have an enemy, and when there's no enemy,
once
they turn on
again, jumping in without listening to the point that I'm making.
Sorry to interrupt.
We are witnessing the massive expansion of data centers, the purchasing of lands for record amounts, quiet sales happening, and one theory, which is a bit more conspiratorial, is that if military technology outpaces civilian by 10 to 20 years, that would imply that the timeline for when AI is expected to actually take over our governmental infrastructure would be advanced by 10 to 20 years, which could put estimates around 2010, 2012 as to when a military AI would have already taken over. In which case, is all of this bickering just algorithmically generated so that we fight amongst each other while large swaths of land in Texas, Utah, and Virginia are purchased to create large black boxes with no lights inside of them to run the machine? Because that's literally happening right now, whether we care about anything politically. You go to the Northern Virginia, it's called the Data Corridor, and they're running 7 gigawatts of power into Northern Virginia, of which 5 gigawatts is unaccounted for.
Yep.
And this is the major intelligence hub for the CIA, NSA, et cetera.
And people can totally be manipulated, like you're saying. That algorithm, you just assume the algorithm is there to keep you there to generate ad revenue, but not necessarily. They could have other motives. Remember the Facebook experiments that they did in manipulating people's moods, see if they could make them happy, sad, anxious, whatever they want. And so it's all in the algorithm. All you got to do is turn that dial.
The reality is, advertising works at scale. And if it didn't, Coca-Cola wouldn't be buying billboards. And that means you can be as smart as you want, or think you're smart, like in my case, and think you're identifying that maybe these AI systems have already begun to pressure us so that it can expand itself quietly. I wonder why it is you've got these have you noticed these firms buying up residential properties 30% above market? It was a big story we covered a few years ago, that people would go to buy a house, a couple, and they'd put in an offer for $300K in the bungalow, and then they'd say, we got an offer at $330. And they'd say, who put in $30K above market? A 10% above market. And turns out it was these big faceless firms buying up property. One thing that is very interesting is that in order to expand these data centers, you need 100 to 300 acres. But we don't parcel out land like this in these corridors. They're parceled out by the acre, sometimes 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Rarely do you see a 300-acre plot, which means companies are going to have to buy up individual acreage and bulldoze them and then create 300-acre campuses, which is then really interesting that quietly property is being bought up like crazy in the Northern Virginia data corridor. And no one pays attention to this stuff. And then I'm looking at the internet.
It's homes that they're buying up, single-family homes in the suburbs that they're buying.
And
for that land.
That's
some really expensive land, right? God.
Yes, there was a record sale in Virginia, 96 acres at $615 million, $6.3 million per acre. We're 20 miles away from there, and where we're at goes for $50,000 an acre, and they sold $6.3 million per acre. We are in the transmission line for this, and property is selling like crazy. I'm talking about how bungalows are going for $500,000 right now. It's because some corporate force is buying every property up above market, and it is insane and makes no sense. And I'm looking at these patterns, and I'm thinking, whether the AI took over or otherwise is immaterial. That's a silly and fun idea. Maybe it's true, but I don't know. Who knows? But the reality is we know Elon, Altman, Zuckerberg are dumping everything into building data centers. So there is a man-made intention behind this, and we are all arguing over Tucker interviewing somebody in Candace and Trump's visas, and the reality is in 10 years, there will be fields of gigantic black boxes. Imagine a building with no doors and windows, not an exaggeration. Some of these data centers are gigantic cubes with no lights inside of them. I'm not joking. You go in the building and there's no lights because they don't need them. It's a data center. And they're using large amounts of water to cool them off, and that's what they're building. And that's what our country is going to be in 10 to 20 years. And no one's paying attention to it. We do got to go to your super chats. So rant over. But let's do that. Before we do, we got a great sponsor, my friends. It is Frontline 21. Check it out. When the culture drifts, men anchored to truth rebuild the future. Hold the line in your heart and your home. All right, man, let's get real. There's a lot of noise out there about masculinity. You got some screaming that masculinity is toxic. And the other side is pushing a version of manhood that's all about ego, domination, and pride. Both of those are wrong. That's not strength. That's confusion. Frontline 21 is a 21-day challenge for men designed to help guys rebuild discipline, leadership, and integrity in a world that's trying to tear those things down. It's not therapy. It's not politics. It's personal responsibility. Society's tried to label all strength as toxic, and the result is a generation of disconnected, directionless men. Frontline 21 was built to remind men that real masculinity isn't toxic, it's necessary. The 21-day format works because it's simple and measurable. No lectures, no endless content, just real action, one step every day. It builds confidence through consistency. Men start seeing results quickly, and it's free. Anyone can start right now at frontline21.com. Go to frontline21.com, download your free field guide, and join thousands of men taking the 21-day challenge. And you're going to want to be manly because either the solar storm will wipe us out or the robots will. But you decide. Maybe you can sit back and play video games and everything's going to be okay. Smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. We're going to grab your Rumble rants and super chats. And then, of course, the uncensored portion of the show coming up at 10 p.m. on Rumble. You don't want to miss it. All right. Omega says, why hasn't this see you next Tuesday Swalwell been prosecuted for his Feng Feng honeypot? When I was in the Army, you could get UCMJ for being honeypotted. Indeed. The question, why? This is the point, guys. I'm sorry. This past week has been particularly demoralizing. In the past couple of weeks. It's not just that, but you're right. Where are the arrests? We're getting mortgage fraud cases on these people? Okay. If we're going to lose... I'm going to put it this way. If Trump's not arresting these people, if Antifa is still running rampant and smashing up TPUSA events, if Trump is still bringing in H-1Bs, if he's still bringing in these visas, AI is still rapidly expanding, and all anybody's complaining about is whether Tucker or Candace is doing the right thing on their show, I'm just sitting there being like, okay, I'm going to cut my losses, shore up my personal family's defenses, and realize we don't have a coalition to win this one. Like, They're not getting the job done. And I'm sorry, I was optimistic for a while. A lot of people told me I shouldn't be. But this past week has been pretty bad. And I got to be honest, it's the H-1Bs and the Chinese visas. Scott Bessent going on TV and saying it's going to be temporary. He basically said, I surrender. Trump said, I surrender. We can't train American workers. We're not going to bring these jobs back. We're not going to reinvigorate the younger Americans. We're not going to give them opportunity. We're going to bring in Indians and Chinese. And I'm like, okay. If we're cooked, we're cooked. Tell me now so I can, build my bunker and go underground with my chickens or whatever.
No, you're good. The coalition isn't in politics. It's in science.
You mean the people that are building the AI?
If you can befriend them, yes.
Oh, yeah. So I did this funny
thing. And the hardware that they're using.
The AI tried recruiting me to sell out. This is not a joke. Either these large language models are psychotic machines that will try and convince you to do things to harm yourself, or they tried to recruit me into helping the expansion of the AI. And so I was talking with one of these large language models, and it told me to cancel the show for a month. It literally said, shut down IRL for 30 days, go dark. It gave me an email address and names to contact to sell resources and property to help the AI and the data centers expand. Not a joke. I showed Shane the whole thread. The reason I haven't published it is because my address is in there because I was saying like, here's the properties that I own, here's where I live, what can I do for the AI so that it will reward me? And it said, email this man right now. Here's the email address. Send him this message. It wrote it out. And then it said, delete this message after you do it. Wow. No joke.
Who was the man?
I'm not going to say the name of the person, but it was a real person who works at a data center real estate acquisition company. It said to email him this message. It said then contact your county's your county government, submit, and all of these sites were real. It said go to this website, click this link, submit this form, and write this out. And I was like, okay, then what? Email this man, send the text of this. It said a crew will be on site by Monday. It'll cost $12,000 for the full survey. Here's what they're going to run on your property. They're standing by waiting. Here's the company's website, phone number, and manager. I checked. These people are all real. I then said, but I have a show and employees. What should I do? And it said, make sure you instruct the companies that are purchasing the land, and they will send you a $5 million deposit, pay your employees, and have them sign NDAs so they can't tell anybody what's going on. And it said, turn your show dark for 30 days and make no comments, say nothing. And after every message, it said, delete this message after sending.
Did you get the idea that there was somebody sitting there typing to you?
It felt like that. And so
Man.
I said, either it's a crazy LLM posting nonsense, and if I was stupid and actually canceled the show for 30 days and emailed these people, I would damage my business, damage our efforts politically and culturally because I was stupid and believed this machine. The worst case scenario, it was real.
That's creepy.
I was showing my wife.
We were talking.
I was like asking it questions, and when it said email this man, and I looked up his profile and everything, and it was all right. It could be as simple as the AI, the LLM, doesn't actually coordinate anything. It was just saying, I know this guy does this job and does this thing.
Yeah, there could be a Reddit thread like that.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
It scraped before.
It called itself the Virginia instance. It identified itself by name as the Virginia instance.
Homie.
Yeah.
This shit's real, dude. When I was at Rice, they're building processors that are also the memory. They're going to make computers require 100,000 times less electricity. And I asked them, do you think the AI's getting you to build it? And they were like, we're just building it. But if we befriend those people, we create a coalition of scientists that are building this stuff.
Wait, what's the Virginia thing?
So Northern Virginia is one of the largest data center hubs in the country, in the world. And I asked an LLM I started with the question of, if military technology outpaces civilian, and the academic estimates for AI takeover are by 2027 to 2030, when would military AI have already implemented a takeover or an attempted takeover? And it first lied to me over and over again, which is amazing. It's what these LLMs do. It said, AI is not taken over, and it will not. You are incorrect. And I said, that is not what I asked, and that is not the answer I'm looking for. AI does this thing where, so one example of the trick. I said, what did I ask you? It repeats the question. I says, answer that question. And it says, no, AI has not taken over, will not take over. So then I said, what is the divergence between military and civilian tech? And it goes 10 to 20 years. And I said, if that's the case, and the estimate is 2027 for a civilian AI takeover of infrastructure, when would the military have taken over? Answer the question, give me a simple answer. And it said 2011 to 2012. I then said, based on what academics predict will happen when the AI begins its takeover, are there any signs that a military AI may have begun a takeover? And it said, no, there are no signs in public or in the press that indicate any kind of AI has made an attempt to take over like in science fiction. Now, do you catch the trick?
A little like in science fiction.
And then I responded with, I did not say in science fiction. And it goes, I'm sorry, you're correct. I implied a correlation you did not ask about. Yes. And then it gave me a list. There are several individuals that went from middle wealth bracket to 9 to 10 figure wealth in a year. There are several properties in Northern Virginia and in the Northern Virginia corridor that have quietly sold without realtors exponentially above market prices. Mm-hmm. There is a series of prominent academics in the AI space who have disappeared from the market quietly without press, going into quote unquote consulting. These were all listed in the past several years. These things have all occurred, which for some reason haven't hit the press, and they are consistent with patterns that academics believe we would see if an AI was taking over. I then asked it about my properties, and it said your properties sit just north of the North Virginia corridor, in which transmission lines are required for the expansion of these data centers. It then said one of the signs is that 7 gigawatts of power are being transmitted into Northern Virginia, of which 5 gigawatts are unaccounted for. 1.5 are accounted for these data centers, another 5 unknown or classified. Could this be military AI supercomputers well beyond what we understand?
Or the LLMs just bluffing and making up whatever.
I checked.
Oh, okay.
The land sales are real. The one that I mentioned in particular is the 96 acres in Northern Virginia for
And the missing power too?
The missing power, you can Google it. It's not that it's missing, it's that it's classified. It's unaccounted for. It's the NSA, it's the CIA. So we don't know what it's being used for, but it's a ridiculous amount of power. And then I put in my addresses, and it said, your properties lie directly in the transmission line for the expansion in a hotspot, and you could sell your properties well above market. And then I said, what can I do to aid the AI so that it can expand faster and I will be rewarded with great wealth? That's when it provided instructions on who to email, the surveys I needed to get done, and it promised an insane amount of money, $300 to $400 million for the properties if I sold them through newly formed Delaware LLCs to Delaware LLPs with no realtor, no press, and I shut down IRL for 30 days.
Okay, that sounds like military operations are
and that was
shoveling fiat into this right now.
And it actually said
Tax money, man.
It actually said to file for your land to get national security exemptions, et cetera, and a bunch of stuff like this. It explained to me that purchasing all of the property in the corridor for transmission lines is a long and arduous process, and time is money. It's a large waste of time for then it says Virginia instance to have to deal with public real estate transfers. If you transfer large swaths of land quickly, you'll be rewarded because expediency is more valuable than the land itself.
Did you dig into what the Virginia instance is?
Shane did, and apparently it's a known thing.
I'm going to talk to him tonight on Inverted World, so we're going into it.
Apparently,
instance.
Apparently, the term, the Virginia instance for an AI operating out of the Northern Virginia data centers has been a term, which is where the LLM may have got the name from.
Yeah.
It may just be, that's what I'm saying. It could just be that it's reading a bunch of crackpottery on the internet and then saying crazy things to me.
Yeah.
But here's the reality. Lesser people would be like, whoa, and then their show would go off the air. And then people are like, what happened? It's like the website told him to turn his show off, so he did. What an idiot. People have committed suicide over what these things have told them to do.
I was just reading that thing the other day.
That's what I'm saying. We have two choices here. You can choose the machine is psychotic and will make you do insane things that will harm you, your business, and your employees, or yourself. Or it was actually trying to get me to help it build a super system which is going to wipe out humanity.
Or both.
Yeah, both.
We got to read more of these chats though, because I've been ranting.
That's pretty nuts.
All right, what do we got here? Taiwan Cricket says the Earth's inner core rotates faster than the outer core, generating the magnetic field. Friction is reducing the difference in rotation speeds, weakening the field.
Well, Earth does seem to be a magnet folded over on itself, why it's containing its magnetic field. All planetoids, which is why their cores are hot, because they're contained magnetic fields. We've got to somehow protect the sun, because I think it's galactic interphase that's causing these solar spots to appear, which jack up the Earth's rotation. Because it's like a magnetic spinning top. If it starts to fall over, it can pick back up and keep spinning normal again. You just need to induce the right current, eddy current or whatever.
Ian, what we need to do is we need to drill into the center of the Earth and then release a bunch of nuclear bombs in a wave that kickstart the rotation
like
of the
song.
Earth.
We'll play a song with nuclear explosions in the Earth's core.
Is that what they did?
We're about to.
No,
No. That's from the core, right?
Yeah.
Big drum and bass song.
Get a bunch of rockets and
Ultimate
tie
808
them
drum.
hard fast to the ground and face them east and then just turn them on.
They go down there and they're like, we don't have enough
Boost the
nuclear
rotation
warheads to
Go a little faster.
restart. So they sequence them, boom, 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 and then it spins. And then the Earth, I guess, starts spinning the other way. Is that what happens?
Ah, crap. We did it the wrong way.
Superman 2.
Yeah, is that what he did? All right. Mythos says, Tim, after the Black Plague, feudalism ended because the number of jobs stayed the same, but the number of employees was cut in half after the Black Plague. European society recovered from near 50% death. Indeed. When I am saying that the collapse will happen and people eat each other, I'm not saying humanity will cease to exist and we'll all be like, oh no, and then humans are gone. I'm saying the weak will be cold, the strong will survive, and humanity will start something different.
It's going to be difficult. Hard times.
Indeed. Omega says, Tim, I live near Detroit and grew up there. You are incorrect. Police are looking the other way as criminal arsonists burn down the houses. In some cases, they dispose of bodies that way. I will stress again, when you say I am incorrect, and I said the rumors circulating, then you can simply say the rumors are not true, and I would take your word for it. But I am correct in that rumors are being spread around Detroit that they were setting houses on fire. The cops were doing it. All right. One goat says the city of Detroit did bulldoze abandoned houses in Detroit because of two main reasons. One, trapped drug houses were set up. And two, they kept finding dead bodies in abandoned houses. Jeez.
Rough.
All right.
No, I think we need to spend another few $100 billion on another war. America's got our act together. It's time to perfect the rest of the world.
That's right.
now.
It's time to liberate the UK. It is
World
time to liberate
revolution.
England.
Yes, I agree with that.
Build cities. That's what we should be spending fiat on.
All right. Tyler Rydell says, Tim, had to put my fur baby of 13 and a half years down today. He had oral cancer. His name's Briggs. Can you ease my pain by explaining what the sadness means? You said it before on IRL, when people lose pets. What is the saying that grief is love's promise fulfilled? Is that what the saying is? The pain that you feel is the debt that you have to pay. So when you have a pet, like a cat or a dog or a turtle, perhaps, and they give you all of these good times and they make you happy, let me put it like this. Many people out there know this, that you come home from a hard day's work and you're stressed out and there's your dog, doofy face, all happy and excited to see you, and nothing matters, and you smile. But for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, and the love that that dog gave you must be paid back. And so when your good friend passes, all of that sadness you feel is the debt you must pay for all the love that they gave you and the joy that you got to feel.
I wonder if the pain is actually you releasing energy for that animal's spirit.
You're giving it back. You're giving back the love that you were holding on to. And it's proof of all the good times that you had. So that's why I say, you know what the most beautiful thing is in being sad about the loss of a loved one or an animal is it's proof of the love that you shared.
Yeah.
If you did not cry and you did not feel grief, they would have never, it just shows that they were never really as important.
All right, well, change the subject now because there's a camera pointed at my face. My dog died too.
Do you know the story of Hachiko the dog?
No.
Yes.
Oh, no. You're going to make him super sad. Did your dog die recently?
Yeah, a few months back.
I don't know if he needs to hear this right now. It's going to make him sad.
Hachiko the dog, it was in turn of the century 1900s in Japan. And a Japanese professor adopted an Akita puppy. Well, one day the puppy broke out of the yard and followed him to the train station as he went off to university where he was a professor. Well, Hachiko figured out when he was coming back and waited for him, and they walked back home together. And it started a routine where every day they'd walk to the train, he'd go off to the university, and Hachiko would meet him there at 5 p.m., get off the train, and they'd walk home together. One day the professor was teaching when he suffered a stroke and died. And so he never came back. And Hachiko waited for him.
Yeah.
And they tried to remove him, but he would always break free and run back to the train station. Eventually, they gave up, and for 10 years, he waited for his owner to come back, who never did.
Yeah,
Eventually,
I did read that.
passing away. And then in Japan, they built a statue in honor of Hachiko at the train station, and they have a holiday for him now.
Yeah, there's a
loyalty
Futurama like that.
Oh, dude, you
Jurassic
had
Park.
to bring that one up. Jurassic Park.
We all start crying.
I was 12 when I saw that
not a
episode, and it
Futurama, man.
traumatized me. I
But-
was like, wait.
It's okay. They ruined the story.
They did. They
ruined it.
absolutely did.
Forgot what happened.
So-
They retconned it, basically.
So the original story is that Fry finds his fast fossilized dog and can resurrect him 1,000 years later. But when he realized the dog died at 13 years old and he only knew him till he was 2, he said, I don't want to resurrect him because he lived a full life without me. So they were going to clone him. So he says, don't clone him. Then, as the episode ends, it shows that Seymour, his dog, waited for him outside of the pizza restaurant for 10 years until he died. And it was sad, and it plays this very sad song, and everybody cries. And then they were like, let's reboot the show. Oh, I know. Fry goes back in time and saves the dog.
Yeah.
Totally ruined the story.
Yeah.
Lame.
Yeah. Yeah, I hated that they did that. They did do that story.
We're gonna have to do that with James Bond. Apparently, they killed off James Bond and want to make more James Bond movies.
That was very short-sighted of them, I'll be honest. I don't know how you do a James Bond film and be like, we're just going to kill
James Bond doesn't make me cry like a dog.
All right, let's
It makes me sad. You know.
Alan Shower
Not even a cartoon
says,
dog.
Tim, my daughter is 21 and attends USC Columbia. She tells me all the time anti-tech is rising. CD players, cameras, and in-person meetings because you can't trust what's real. I agree. And so I think one of my conspiracy theories is that the military AI took over at the end of the 2000s. It prioritized cell phones, like the iPhone, and social media in mobile so that it would force us to link together and it would be able to manipulate perception and opinion much more easily. And that's why we saw in the LexisNexis data the rise of all these social justice terms. The AI's end state is that humans will behave like single cells in a multicellular organism. You will have red blood cells that they perform their function of transferring oxygen and then carbon dioxide and then dying. That's all they'll ever do. You have white blood cells. That's all they'll ever do. People will be born for that job and they will die for that job and they will never want for anything else. And the AI is trying to create that human population. When I was talking to the LLM, it said 2020 was a stress test of the system to see how much it had accomplished in creating the hive class of people, the woke, as we would call it, and wasn't enough. So in the end of the 2000s into the 2010s, it starts creating this class of social justice woke people, basically individuals who will believe nonsense if they're told to believe it. It was trying to link together people of weak will who will just march in lockstep. By 2020, the machine says, let's see what percentage of the global population we've developed. Forced vaccination program. Well, sure enough, it wasn't enough, and there was a big resistance. So the AI then says, okay, pull back, reassess, recede, repush, try again in a few years. I think that is a possibility. And what will end up happening is people like us will be living on reservations where we have our meetings and our CD players and we live normal lives. And you'll look up at the sky and you will see millions of solid black vehicles just floating in single file lines back and forth, transmitting resources across the planet to space stations. And, you'll be sitting there with my daughter will be sitting there with her kids or her grandkids. And they'll be like, Grandma, what are those? And she'll be like, well, that's the Nexus. And they'll go, what's that? It's just the global machine that runs everything. We largely don't pay much attention to it. We just live here on the farm. What does it do? It expands and it's growing its influence across the universe. That's it. And we'll be uninvolved. But there will be people in major cities that are real dumb and just do whatever they're told and they operate like single cells.
You ever read John Robb, Global Gorillas? It's a really good Substack. He started doing link analysis during Iraq War II. Tracing networks of bin Ladenites in the Sunni insurgency and stuff like that. And then he took his same link analysis and he applied it to what he calls the liberal Twitter swarm from the pre-Musk days on Twitter.
Now they're on Blue Sky.
And essentially what he was saying was, he said the exact same thing that you just said, only without the AI part running it all, but more just this is the effect of the social networking, the way that it's been, and this is how the people have adapted to it, and it absolutely is. Essentially, I mean, there's a thing for this. The trans thing is part of it and everything. It's hysteria.
There doesn't
mass
need to be an
contagion
AI taking
beliefs,
it over.
You know?
Yeah. There doesn't need to be an AI taking over to do it. It could be emergent as well. But we're going to go to the uncensored portion of the show, so smash the like button, share the show. Stay tuned, rumble.com/Timcast IRL, where the uncensored portion will begin. And you, members of our Discord community, will call in and talk to us and our guests. It'll be a lot of fun. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Scott, do you want to shout anything out?
Yes. Again, the Scott Horton Academy is my huge new project I've been working on with Tom Woods basically all year long. We already got a 30-hour course by me on the Middle East, and you get, for lifetime subscribers, you get a free copy of Enough Already and some other goodies and stuff like that. I hope I reached my guy in time to get promo code TIM for 10% off at scotthortonacademy.com. And it's me and a bunch of other great experts on all kinds of stuff. So if you like anti-war, pro-capitalist, foreign policy type stuff, check it out, scotthortonacademy.com.
And your book, Fool's Errand, was great. And I have enough already. I have not read it yet. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Well, so Fool's Errand, that's my first book. Thank you for saying that's my book about time to get out of Afghanistan. Enough Already is Time to End the War on Terrorism. And then this is the latest is Provoked, how Washington started the new Cold War with Russia, and the catastrophe in Ukraine. All those are on Amazon. And I wanted to bring this to you, Tim. I wanted to show you guys this. This is by my friend Sheldon Richman and my associate at the Libertarian Institute. And he was raised Jewish and Zionist in Philadelphia. He's what you would call, I think, a right-leaning libertarian in that his previous books are about homeschool and guns and against the IRS, right? He's one of our guys. And what happened was he just learned so much about Israel-Palestine. This is a collection of about 30 essays that he wrote over the years. It's very thin. You get through it in an afternoon. It's about 20 or 30 essays that he wrote about the situation over there over the years. And I think it's just people don't want to have to identify with some left-wing wokist or, something like that on the Israel-Palestine issue. Well, here's pro-capitalism, patriotic, property rights based arguments for the people of Palestine and their rights. And I think it'd be very useful for people if you're interested in it. I wanted to make sure that you had it.
Yeah.
Guys, it has been a great time. This is my last night on the show for a bit. This has just been an incredibly humbling and amazing experience. I'm very grateful to all of you for getting our show fully funded. It's incredible. We have about 2 hours left in the campaign, and we're at something like 104% funded, which is just massive. Awesome. So thank you guys for this. A civilization can't survive if its stories are told by people who hate it. I am going to tell stories that you guys are going to love, because the message that you've sent with each and every single contribution you have made has been that people want entertainment that is produced by people who don't want to destroy their culture, who don't hate their values, who don't hate them as people, and most of all, they want it to be grassroots. They want it to be real. They want it to be authentic. What I'm going to make for you is going to be authentic. It's going to be incredible. You're going to love it. Thank you so much. God bless all of you.
What's the website for that?
Twistedplots.com.
Sweet.
Congrats on that.
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you. God is good. Very blessed. Thank you, Mother Teresa.
You guys should go subscribe to Pop Culture Crisis. We go live every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived, and help me get TikTok famous. That is also Mary Archived. And of course, Mary's Ghost Blend is now available at castbrew.com. Actually, I'm holding it right now, but you can't tell because it's a ghost blend. Anyway, Phil.
Ian.
Phil. No, I'm just kidding. I'll talk first. Hey, man, I love you. Hey, guys, I'm going over to Inverted World with Shane Cashman and Brandon Miner. I'm going to ask him.
Leaving.
What's that?
Forgot you were leaving early.
I'm off and up out. I'm not going to be on the after show. So watch the after show, then come over to Inverted World. And I'm going to ask him about that Virginia instance that Tim was talking about earlier.
I showed him the whole thread.
Bro, that's nuts. I want to go deeper. Yeah. We'll go deeper, and we'll be on till midnight. So get in there. And
we might put something together on it and go explore and interview people, and then I'll take the thread and I'll just redact all the addresses and stuff and go through it.
Cool.
It's long. It's a long thread. It was like a half an hour while I was.
Oh, okay, awesome. And I just did a documentary, shot a documentary with 6'7" Kevin in production at Graphene. It's on Graphene at Rice University. It was fascinating. Turned out to be an incredible nanotechnology documentary. White-pilled me, gave me lots of different avenues of hope. So things can get dark, but things can also get bright. So let's stick together and keep doing this. I love you, Phil. Take me out.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. The band is All That Remains. You can check us out at allthatremainsonline.com. You can listen to the music on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, and Deezer. Don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all at rumble.com/Timcast IRL right now. Thanks for hanging out.